Welcome back to the show where we pretend that we know things. This is the Optional Boss Podcast, and I am your host. No, I'm not Tyler. I'm Josh, and with Tyler.
It's time for another world premiere of attempting to open this show.
Yep, I'm failing hard today, but anyways, yeah. So today's topic is about the Game Awards.
Yeah, a topic that is significantly about success, which is not how we started today.
No, it's not. Holy crap!
This is that time of year where we all gather around a nice, cozy, warm Jeff Keighley and find out what some people seem to think is really good, and more so what we're going to spend money on next year.
And also, a lot of people fight over this kind of stuff, which I find sad, like amusing, but sad. Like, these are all great games and things to look forward to, and that's something that we should all keep in mind, right?
It's such a hilarious kind of, like, part of just the human condition where, and I know that I've experienced this myself, but it's, I don't know, maybe sports fans can back me up on this. I can't tell you how they might think things, but it's kind of like seeing something that represents you winning an award. That's almost like you helped win that award, you know? Like, this is my favorite. I'm on their side.
Except with these, you can actually vote ahead of time. And sports, I can't convince the puck to go in the net.
I know you can vote, but do you really think the voting here actually affects it?
I really don't know, to be honest. I mean,
it's
there's so much speculation.
All speculation.
Yeah. There's so much speculation. But anyways, yeah, so we are doing recording this in two parts, and then we're going to merge it together. And for this first part, we're going to talk about the nominees. The Game Awards have not happened yet. And we're going to go through each category and kind of name off the nominees and what we think about them and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to try and keep it short and sweet. And then on the second half that will be pieced together with this is going to be the world premieres and the actual award winners of what turned out. So, you want to get into...
Should we get into our big old world premieres of the world's awards of the games?
Well, we can't talk about world premieres just yet. Because the Game Awards haven't actually happened.
This is our world premiere about talking about it.
Okay, this is our world premiere of talking about the the Game Awards, and then eventually the world premiere.
Time for another world premiere.
Welcome to the video game advertisements.
Oh boy, I'm so excited for commercials.
You know what? I really hope that there is more gameplay trailers as opposed to these cinematic, over-the-top, done trailers. Because...
It would be nice to see things that are like, don't get me wrong, I like announcements as much as everybody else, but at the same time, it's...
Show us gameplay.
Always, you never know how to feel when you see something that could be either very poorly explained or just... This is something that I'm going to point to, and I remember you actually having complaints about this. I can't remember if it was announced at the Game Awards, but pretty much any of the marketing for the new Saints Row, it was all just and wildly different cinematic trailers, right?
Yeah.
We all know how that game turned out when they actually did start showing us what the game was like.
Which is unfortunate because, I mean, I was excited for New Saints Row. I quite enjoyed 4. I know it wasn't the most popular, and I quite enjoyed my time with 3. I didn't play Gat Out of Hell, but seeing them reboot the franchise, that was exciting. And then, just seeing the reviews come in and... Yeah, not so much.
The reboot got the boot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you want to get into some categories? Or actually, you know what? Before we do that, we should get into a couple little side notes that we aren't going to bother touching too well or too much. And that is the esports categories. Now, I know for myself...
We could probably look at the best esports game category.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But as for the actual esports players and stuff, I know nothing about esports. I don't follow them. I don't know coaches. I don't know teams. I don't know athletes. But yeah, we could probably do the best esports game.
You know, all of these esporters, they're all wonderful athletes. Did good, get your Gatorade, kid. Moving on.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the best esports game. And so our nominees are Counter-Strike Global Offense, Dota 2, League of Legends, Rocket League, and Valorant. So we got
It's
two...
the League of the Leagues.
We got 2 Valve games, 2 Riot games, and 1 Psyonix.
Well, I don't know who's going to win because I don't know the scene. I'm just going to say probably League because it seems to be one of those games that's kind of high on its throne for whatever it is. Again, I know nothing about it. And, yeah.
So I'm actually going to go with Dota 2. Just, that's the one I hear more about nowadays. Aside from that, I mean, I know a little bit about Counter-Strike Global Offense, but I don't hear too much talk of it. The one I do hear more about is Dota 2, so that's that. We know nothing about esports. So
just wait till we get to the talk about the real sports category.
Oh god. Yes.
But now we can anticipate what's next.
Yes, which is the most anticipated game. And
of the year award.
Technically next year or coming up anyways. So
all right.
Pending delays.
Shall I read it off?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Pending delays.
We'll
all right,
alternate.
So we got some pretty heavy hitters here. Some that I'm actually personally looking forward to myself. We have Final Fantasy 16. We have the highly anticipated Hogwarts Legacy because this seems to be, I don't know, probably one of the first Hogwarts properties that have been taken as seriously as this.
Although there is a lot of
Resident
controversy.
Evil 4. Yes, there is.
Yes, so.
But yeah, Resident Evil 4 remake, which is cool, but also a bit of a cheat because it's a remake. I don't know. It's probably a pretty hefty remake, though.
That's the thing. Their remakes are pretty hefty.
Starfield, the game that I'm not sure is going to come out next year. And lastly, The Legends of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, or Tears of the Kingdom.
I believe it's Tears.
I'm pretty sure it's Tears, though.
So, this is a hard one because, I mean, Legend of Zelda is kind of the go-to. Like, people are dying for Breath of the Wild 2, right? Like, they're stoked for a new Legend of Zelda. I'm going to say that I wouldn't be surprised if that won. For me, personally, I'm going to say, actually, Final Fantasy 16. Because I do like the more modern Final Fantasies with the action combat. I didn't mind 15. I know that's a bit of a hot take, but I quite enjoyed it. Aside from, oh god, was it Chapter 13? Just the long-ass corridors that just never stopped. It was, that part was just terrible.
Final Fantasy hallway.
Yeah, the final hallway.
I can safely say for myself, especially like currently playing it, I'm going to be most anticipated out of this list for the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. But I'm really looking forward to what comes out of Final Fantasy 16 as well. If Zelda wasn't in this category, would you be more stoked for the Final Fantasy still, or a fresh new take at Resident Evil 4?
I'd still stick with Final Fantasy 16, to be honest. Resident Evil 4, I didn't actually play till this year, actually. And I had a bit of a... I wouldn't call it a game-breaking bug, but it did sour my taste on Resident Evil 4. Like I said on previous episodes, I'm just getting into the series and stuff. And it's where it added extra weapon sway than what was actually anticipated. And when this first happened,
uncomfortable.
I looked up on YouTube like old versions and whatnot, and newer ports and remasters and whatnot. The weapon sway in comparison to what I was getting, and other people, which I did see lots of people complaining about this glitch too, it was astronomical, the difference. So if I had a shotgun and I was pointing at, say, one of the cultists' heads or something, it would start bouncing enough that it would eventually reach the floor to the ceiling, to the floor to the ceiling, with a shotgun.
Ooh.
So that kind of soured my taste, although Resident Evil 4, I'm probably picking up on launch. Like, I'm stoked for it. But at the same time, I've also played it, so I'm more excited for Final Fantasy 16.
It's a fresh experience, but not a new experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's still going to have that new feel to it, I'm sure, but at the same time, Final Fantasy 16 is going to be brand new. And it looks...
I mean, it's kind of looking like a much more mature take on your fantasy stories, as well as also like Final Fantasy meets Devil May Cry.
Which, I don't know if I'd like the whole Devil May Cry thing, just for different reasons, but I am liking that more mature tone of it, and I want these games to be a little more grittier. So,
from what I've seen in those trailers, it's looking pretty gritty.
Yeah, and that has me excited.
Well, moving on from that is a category that I'm going to be going off my gut here.
So, next category
what do we got?
Is Best Adaptation. Recognizing outstanding creative work that faithfully and authentically adapts a video game to another entertainment medium. So we got Arcane League of Legends, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, The Cuphead Show, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Uncharted.
So funny enough, I mean, neither of us are really too much of television viewers.
What is TV and movies?
It's an old way of life, you know. It's honest living, but it's easy. But I have heard a lot of really good things about pretty much all of these but Uncharted.
So I haven't actually heard anything about the Uncharted movie. I didn't even realize it was out.
Right? That's kind of where I'm at with that one. But I know that Arcane has apparently... It's just a beautiful TV show. I'm not really too crazy about League of Legends or its lore, but it seems to be like really captivating people who know nothing about it. So I don't know how that makes me feel about an adaptation, but it's popular at least. Apparently Cyberpunk is also really good. You would know more about the game, but I don't think you've actually watched this, have you?
I have not. I am notorious for not being too keen on anime stuff. Which
and for who made this is very anime.
It is very anime. And you know what?
Yeah.
Well, I say that. It is a bit of a detriment to myself because I know I'm missing out on a lot of things that I know I would enjoy in that genre. Like the Castlevania series.
I thought the Castlevania series was... If it was in this list, this would get my vote.
But what do you think would win? And what would you like to see win?
I mean, so my thoughts on this is like I said, Uncharted is kind of like, oh yeah, that's right, that was a thing. Arcane is getting a lot of praise. Cyberpunk's getting a lot of praise. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was apparently actually pretty good. I will check it out at some point, but I have yet to. And then there's the Cuphead Show, and this is the one that in my heart I would like to see succeed. But it's also the one that whenever I'm reminded there's a Cuphead show, it was just one of those, oh yeah, I should watch that sometime, and then I forget it exists. So, weirdly enough, my vote goes to Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
I'm going to agree with you there. I haven't seen any of these, actually. I've seen Sonic the Hedgehog 1. I quite enjoyed it. Haven't heard too much on the Cuphead show, aside from when it first released, but I haven't heard too much since. Sonic you hear a lot about. Maybe it's because Sonic Frontiers just released and all that. Cyberpunk Edgerunners did kind of revitalize the Cyberpunk game and got people to check it out again, so I kind of think that might win.
I think you might be right on that one, actually, because I feel like Arcane, though very well received, is also was pretty flash in the pan. It didn't get a bunch of people playing League, as where Cyberpunk got a lot of people actually into that universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, not a knock on Arcane, but I do think that Cyberpunk had that stronger hook, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, if it can breathe life into that franchise, then good, because I do feel bad for the train wreck of a situation that launch was.
Yes. That was devastating, really. For everyone involved, aside from the CEOs who pushed out too early.
Yeah, but we're not talking about these big studios. We're talking about the best debut indie.
Yes, the next category.
Category that I have. Well, we have our discussions about how indie is almost a weird term to use these days. But
they're games. They're just games, and they just happen to be by smaller studios, and they tend to have more creativity.
So we have for the best debut indie game created by a new independent studio, Neon White, which looks pretty cool.
It does.
Very fast-paced, not unlike the new direction that Doom's been going into, but also with a little bit of that nice roguelike spice. I don't even know if it's roguelike, but hey, moving on. Norco, which I don't know what that is.
Neither do I. This is the first time I've heard
Stray.
of it, so I'm going to say that's probably not going to win.
We have Stray, which was a very, very successful launch, which I'm happy for, but also Stray has kind of that it's a weird term to use, but almost like a triple indie sense. Like it had a budget behind it.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Tunic, I know nothing about, and yet I really want to play. Yeah. And then we have Vampire Survivors, which is hilariously memey of an indie status in this. Like, compared to what it's up against, it's almost funny to see this really pixel art, almost like mobile game ad kind of quality game that it's just one of those, no, it's just a top-notch gaming experience.
Yeah, apparently it's very good.
Yeah, so, I mean, my personal vote, who I would like to see win, is just going to go to Tunic, because it's a game I have the most interest in, but I actually think Stray's going to walk away with this one.
I think I'm right on par with you. Stray was kind of a mind-blowing thing when it first came out, and having played it, I don't quite get the hype behind it, but it was still, it was good. And Tunic, I'd like to see Tunic win. Everything that I know about it, and which isn't much, but I know enough, spoiler-free reviews and all that kind of stuff, it just looks right up my alley.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you the next two categories because I'm reading at the order this goes, and you're getting all of the bummer categories if we keep doing this particular back and forth. But
well, thank you.
You get the next one, which is we get to be old men for a minute or two and understand, like, we don't know who these people are.
Yeah, so Content Creator of the Year for a streamer or content creator who has made an important and positive impact in the community in 2022.
First, I want to make a very strong complaint. I don't think streamers / quote-unquote content creators should be in the same category because I think it's two very different art forms.
I get behind that, yeah. I mean, streamers are a very community-oriented thing where content creators... I mean, they both are technically creating content, I suppose, but content creators, I think of YouTubers who make, like... take Some Call Me Johnny, for instance. Wonderful YouTuber, does great analysis videos and all that kind of stuff. And I would look at a content creator similar to that, where they're more open to a discussion. But
at least open the gates for more than this 5 names out of both seas of people.
Not just a let's play.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what I see streamers as, and maybe that's a bad take on my part, but I don't watch streamers. It's just something I don't do.
Who do we got / who do you know?
So we got Carl Jacobs. I don't know. Ludwig.
I don't know.
I know the name.
I do know.
I don't.
Yes, I know the name.
I don't know if I've seen any of his content, to be honest. Nibble, or I don't know how to properly say this, but Nibellion.
Nibellion? Okay.
I think
he's an anime.
Yes, he is. I know he was big in breaking news on Twitter and stuff, and I think he just hung up the gloves about doing it around the time that Elon Musk took over Twitter. But I know people were very upset.
Like a keeping people informed of like what's happening on Twitter kind of person?
Yeah. Around, like, he was always there with breaking news, or he'd find out super quick and relay the news. And unless I'm thinking about someone else, but I think that's who that is. Again, old man and me, yes. No Brew? No idea.
I think that's a beverage you can buy in the UK.
It wouldn't be surprising. And QT Cinderella. No idea who that is.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Sure, Ludwig is a name I know. That's my vote.
I'm going to go with Nibellion, assuming that he is who I think he is. And the profile picture looks the same. So.
And if it's not, congratulations to whoever that may be.
Yes. But yeah, Ludwig or Nibellion. Both are A-okay in my books, just because I know of them.
All right, what do we got next?
So next is Best Multiplayer for outstanding online multiplayer, gameplay, and design, including co-op and massively multiplayer experiences. So we have Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Multiverse, or Multiverses, Overwatch 2, Splatoon 3, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge.
Okay, so this one's a very interesting lumping of people. So I know who I think is going to win. I know who a solid contender is, and then I know who I want to see win. But I think we can both agree that Overwatch 2 is none of those.
I don't think so, just given the amount of backlash I've seen about it.
That's kind of my thoughts on it. Multiversus is one of those things where, like, though it's a pretty successful free-to-play fighting game, and you never know, I could be surprised on this, but it definitely has that one of these things does not feel like the other kind of vibes here. So, I think it's going to be Call of Duty. I could see Splatoon sneaking up by it, but we all know that I want it to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, and I'd follow suit. I think Call of Duty is going to win it. Like, I've actually heard quite a bit of positivity around Modern Warfare 2. Again, I don't play Call of Duty, so I can't give you my honest opinion on that, but just from what I've seen, and quite honestly, I just want to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge win something, and I've seen the gameplay, and I know the gameplay, and it's pretty good, and it's hectic, and it's just good fun. It is a video game.
Having just got through it myself, granted I did it in single player, I would definitely love to try it as a co-op game because it's an old school quarter munching beat 'em up. Like, not munching your quarters, but either way, like, it's a good time. And it was very well made, but it also, it just doesn't feel like the other games in this category, right? Like, you don't really, oddly enough, which is so weird coming from the age that I do, that, like, when you think best multiplayer, you don't think couch co-op anymore.
No, which is sad. Granted, the past couple of years definitely killed that, but
it killed a few things. So I got some real great categories here. We got best sports / racing. Oh boy, for the best traditional and non-traditional. So that almost voids that sports and racing game. We have F1 22.
Okay.
FIFA 23. And BA 2K23, Gran Turismo 7, and actually, honestly, one that I kind of want to play, which is, I'm amazed that there's anything I want to play in this category, Ollie Ollie World.
What is Ollie Ollie World?
Ollie Ollie World is like, it's a 2D, it's like skateboarding game. I can't think of anything that... So think of, like, the minecart levels in Donkey Kong and stuff like that.
Okay.
But like a skating game. So you can do, like, you're grinding on the rails and you can do tricks and stuff like that, and it's all, like, really cool and colorful and all this. Like, it's a really, really neat-looking game.
Are you trying to say that it's a modern age skate or die?
That's exactly what it is.
All right.
Actually, yeah. So as for winners, I don't care. My vote is Ollie Ollie World.
You know what? Not knowing that, like, when I first saw this list, I didn't know. So I think Gran Turismo 7 might win, just based on what I've seen of it, which isn't much, but it does look pretty.
Oh, F1's a racing game.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Oh, no. Yeah, I guess I could see, like, the actual winner being something like Gran Turismo. It's a series that holds a lot of pedigree, right?
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know if it's good, but I also know that when it comes to, like, your yearly release sports titles, something like Gran Turismo 7 that actually takes significantly longer than a year to develop, I could see being the more quality experience. So, yeah, that's where I'm at as well.
And personal choice, I'm just going to say Ollie Ollie World, because that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, look up a trailer when we're done here, because it looks really good.
Yeah, I will do.
But next up, we have something that I could probably get a little bit more of a feel for. We have Best Sim and Strategy, which best game focused on real-time or turn-based simulation or strategy gameplay, irrespective of platform.
It's a weird way to put it.
That? I guess that's is it supposed to be like, you know, not exclusive to like PC or console? It's just game, because that would be an interesting thing to tag on there.
Yeah, that's a weird way of putting it. Mm-hmm. But what do we got?
But we have Dune Spice Wars, which before I would never expect to see a Dune game, or I would see it like kind of lost in the shuffle here, but Dune's been getting a lot of like more public reception these days. Like, it's always been a very popular franchise, but with its niche audience, right?
Yes, and something I just realized, it's from Shiro Games, who, if I'm not mistaken, made the Evil Lane games.
Oh, neat. Well, good on them.
Assuming I'm not wrong.
Then we have Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which I never played the first one. It's really like the turn-based style RTS doesn't really do much for me. But I do kind of like what they did with this one, where it's no longer grid-based. It's like area-focused for your combat and stuff. So it actually looks pretty interesting. Forgot it came out, though. Total War Warhammer 3. I don't know, Warhammer games get pumped out so much and they go so lost in the shuffle, I couldn't tell you anything about this one. Sega had a hand in it, that's neat.
So the Total War series is pretty popular for that style. It's kind of not RTS, but kind of RTS. I know I played the first one. So it isn't your traditional Warhammer.
Yeah. Then we have 2 Point Campus, which is just a fun kind of SimCity-esque style game. It's much deeper than that, but to my knowledge of it, it's that same kind of... It's going to scratch that itch. And then, what is Victoria, and how did it get 3 games?
Given that it's from Paradox, I imagine that it's... I mean, this is turn-based simulation or strategy.
Yep.
They do their X4 games quite often, so...
Okay.
So for me... my want to win and think is going to win is going to be the same, actually. And that's going to be Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. I've heard nothing but great things. It's very similar to the first one with some adjustments and some tweaks. And apparently it's pretty good. Again, this isn't my genre per se, so... But I'm going off that. Just that good old gut feeling.
I'm going to say the same, just given what it's standing next to. Like, this doesn't seem like it's a super... breakout hit year for the genre, so it would probably be the most outstanding of them. I mean, 2 Point Campus I know is really popular, but it's also kind of the odd man out in this one, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably what I'd say is same with the Mario and Rabbids. But yeah, read us over the next few.
So next category is Best Family, and clearly it's Family Matters. Not best family game or anything like that, just best family.
No, just best family that there ever been.
So nominations are Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Nintendo Switch Sports, and Splatoon 3.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you immediately what popped through my head when we were going through this category. So first, I'll just going to talk about the games that I'm not going to talk about right now. Lego, cool, they come and go, but they also, sure, Switch Sports was just a disaster.
Yeah.
It came out in pieces. It's just not capturing what it is.
I think they just got
Splatoon
golf.
3... Yeah, I know, they just got golf. And then Splatoon 3, though... I would say fits into the family and the fact that it's a Nintendo game. It doesn't feel like as family-ish a game as this category kind of warrants.
Yeah.
Mind you, I've not really dabbled into the Splatoon series. But, so, first of all, Kirby. I want Kirby. It should be Kirby. But also, just when you're reading out the categories, because we had Mario and Rabbids in the last category, it made me think of the scene in The Simpsons where they're at the sheep farm. And, so then Kirby and the Forgotten Land's like the super baby sheep, and then the other sheep that's a little bit bigger is Mario and Rabbids that goes in the way. Just get out of the way, you. So yes, good. Just definitively Kirby is my choice. That is a great game, and it's just fantastic. One of my favorite games I played this year.
So one I'd like to see win is Kirby because it is absolutely wonderful. I think it's going to win, but I think if it has actually any kind of competition, it's going to be Lego Star Wars. And
really? Because I think its competition's going to be Splatoon, if anything.
Well, looking at the... I kept up on sales numbers for quite a few months, the previous months. Lego Star Wars, in some months, was actually outbeating sales of Elden Ring.
Oh, I can believe that. They sell like crazy.
So... yeah, I'm going to say Kirby for both, mainly because that's what I really want. But I wouldn't be surprised if Lego Star Wars wins.
No, I could agree just like sheerly based on sales numbers, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of this also comes down to the reviews. And like, Lego games always review well, but they don't always review like critically outstanding.
Yeah. So next category is best fighting. For the best game designed primarily around head-to-head combat.
This is such a controversial topic this year that I think we're just going to keep this light because people have already, we'll touch on it, but we won't actually get into a deep discussion as to why this is weird.
So DNF Duel, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R, The King of Fighters 15, Multiverses, and Sifu.
Oh boy, I said I wasn't going to get into it.
Keep it small.
Yep. So I think it's just short and sweet. Sifu is not a fighting game in the sense of a fighting game, but so why is it here? Moving on from that, I'm just going to exclude it from the roster, though I do think it is a neat looking game. My pick for what I want to see win is DNF Duel because it's a cool looking, just one-on-one fighter. But I actually think Multiverses is probably going to walk away with it this year.
I could see Multiverses taking it away this year.
It's the closest thing we're gonna get to a Smash experience that's reasonably not that people thought Nickelodeon All-Star Smash or whatever they called it was bad, but you can tell this is a much more polished product, and its free-to-play model just makes it much more approachable.
Yeah.
So that, and now as for what I think should win, I said DNF Duel because it's a quality thing. Nothing against King of Fighters. I know it's a top-tier fighting franchise up there with not as high as Street Fighter, but it's up there with them. But I think it's also one of those series that has gotten so far beyond that it has a very exclusive fan base.
So for myself, the only ones I know is Multiverses and Sifu, and I'm going to include Sifu and hope it wins just to cause a bit of chaos.
It would be really funny because it's what game does not belong here deserves to win the most.
So let's move on. You are up.
Yeah. We have another one that's usually a pretty controversial category most years just because it really, people struggle to see what actually fits into these guidelines. So
yes.
Best role-playing game. We have Elden Ring, Live a Live, Pokemon Legends Arceus. No, Arceus. You can't say Arce in Europe, so they... Triangle Strategy. They dropped the word project. And then Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Now, who do you think doesn't belong here?
If I was going to say any of them, I would say Elden Ring. Because, yeah...
It's hard to say, right?
I mean, out of them... okay. I think...
It still fits as a role-playing game.
Yes.
But... it's not what you're thinking compared to these other games as a role-playing game. You're thinking a little bit more traditionally, right?
And this comes down to the definition that they're using for the best game designed with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. Which, that's not really a role-playing game, but okay, Jeff Keighley.
Actually, if anything, it's to its truest form a role-playing game.
Including the multiplayer experiences?
So... there's a lot of ways to define, and we're going to have to do an entire episode just on this whole subject, I'm sure. But role-playing could either be we're stepping into the role of a character, or role-playing could be you are portraying yourself as a character, which is where something like Elden Ring, where it is your journey, right? That's kind of where they fit with that
or
definition.
Even Dungeons & Dragons, where you're creating a character.
Yeah, exactly. Mind you, I like the more traditional video gamey, Final Fantasies are a role-playing game.
Your
kind of thing.
JRPG.
Yeah, more or less. What I would like to see win, because I played it, I didn't beat it, I want to get around to it though, it just wasn't in the mood for a turn-based RPG. I thought Live a Live was great. Five Alive. But I think we know that Elden Ring's going to run away with it. At a different year, Legends Arceus... just all the wrong pronunciations today. Could have, but you can tell that game's a blueprint.
Oh, yeah.
Triangle Strategy looks really good and is apparently really popular with the Final Fantasy Tactics crowd, but it's easily the most niche of the titles up for nomination right now.
And it's such a stupid name. I'm sorry.
And then the surprise winner here could be Xenoblade Chronicles, if they actually don't want to give it to Elden Ring.
I could kind of see that. I think Elden Ring is going to win.
I think it's going to win as well, but if there was anything that I could see knocking it out of this specific category, it would probably be Xenoblade, just because the fans love these games.
Yeah. I kind of think if we took out Elden Ring, I think it would be Pokemon Legends.
Yeah?
Yeah. Because
Interesting.
its sales numbers were massive, so I could kind of see it. And
This is very true.
Pokemon
And it was
is...
well received. It was just... It's not that it was disappointing. It just felt like there could have been more, right?
its story was so... I mean, it was
a
fine, but
Pokemon
there was so
story.
much text. And god
Yeah.
damn it, Game Freak, put in voice acting and fix Violet and... Yeah, words. Violet and Scarlet, please. Because I'm quite excited to play those.
I'm looking forward to trying them when I get to it as well. But yeah, the next category we have, we have Best Action Adventure, which is another kind of very vague category, but we'll just go over them. Plague Tale Requiem, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and Tunic.
So I'm just going to say God of War Ragnarok. For both.
We know it's going to be God of War.
I haven't played it, but I've played the 2018 version. It was absolutely wonderful. And this apparently is very similar to that, just, again, more tightly knit and much broader. So I don't see it being anything else aside from God of War.
Yeah, I would like it to be Tunic because Tunic amuses me, but I'm also going to say it's probably going to be God of War on this one.
Yeah.
But what do we got after that?
So this time it's just Best Action Game. For the best game in the action genre, focused primarily on combat.
This is another weird category.
So Best Action Game. For the best game in the action genre, focused primarily on combat, we got Bayonetta 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Neon White, Sifu, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge.
In this category, this is a weird one because you've got like 5 different styles of game all crammed together. This is the category I would actually like to see Bayonetta or Sifu win. They fit that kind of action vibe in my mind for like what they're going for here. Neon White, though not a conventional shooter, belongs more in the shooter category, and Call of Duty definitely belongs in the shooter category. What are you doing here?
Is there a shooter category this year?
I don't think so.
How can it be in the shooter category if there's no shooter category?
That's hilarious. They took away your sport. You had to start competing in other categories. And then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, much as I love it, I don't see it taking this one.
No. I'm gonna kind of hope for Neon White, which...
That would be a nice win for what seems to be a small dev project, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it looks really cool. It's highly praised. Again, this is another one I haven't actually played, but it's piqued my interest, which is a lot more I can say about Bayonetta 3, Call of Duty, or even Sifu, because it's more of a beat-em-up style type game. So
Sifu, I think, is a very interesting kind of like, it's a modernized take on beat-em-ups, but at the same time, I would say Bayonetta fits that more action vibe in my mind.
Yeah. So this next one, I don't think either of us really have any kind of experience with any of this stuff, but best VR/AR.
Name them, pick them at random. Yep.
For the best game experience playable in virtual or augmented reality, irrespective of platform. So we have After the Fall, no idea. Among Us VR, everybody knows Among Us. Bone Lab, no idea what it is. Moss Book 2, I have a friend who is actually really excited for that, who just found out that it's a thing. And Red Matter 2. I have nothing here to really say for any of it. I'm just going to say...
My vote goes to Moss for your friend.
I'm down for that. I'm down for Moss Book 2. And that's for you, Toady.
All right. Well, wonderful. So moving on to innovation in accessibility. So recognizing software and or hardware that is pushing the medium forward by adding features, technology, and content to help games be enjoyed by anyone in an even wider audience.
Yes. So
everyone likes a little bit of good accessibility.
This is one of those categories that I think is important, even if not everyone really cares about it, because the more people playing these games, the more people enjoying them, the better it is. Personally, I think.
I think it's a very interesting category because we can't really speak on to these accessibility features. We don't know them. So I'm just going to be judging my pick off of what I think people should experience the most. And so, wait. Yeah, I was reading this one off. So we have As Dusk Falls, God of War Ragnarok, Return to Monkey Island, The Last of Us Part 1, which is amazing that it's only in one category now that I think about it.
Yep.
Well, one category so far. And then we have The Quarry. I'm just going to say God of War, because it feels like the game that everyone's going to be talking about, so it would be great if everyone could play.
So, God of War has actually had quite a bit of praise for its accessibility features, including like even some of the puzzles where one that's coming to mind is someone with shaky hands, whether it's due to PTSD or anything like that. You can actually change it to button presses as opposed to trying to keep something precision aimed or things like that for some of its puzzles and stuff. And I think it's good to see that kind of stuff. So I'm going to say God of War.
Well, now we have another one of those I'm not sure categories. What do we got
So we
next?
have Best Community Support, recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency, and responsiveness, inclusive of social media activities and game updates patches. We have Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy XIV, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky.
I'm just going to go ahead and say the only one I see myself ever playing, if I ever would be Final Fantasy XIV, so that's my vote.
I'm going to say Final Fantasy XIV. I mean, it just came out with its latest expansion, or last storyline expansion for its current storyline, this past year, and I know me and my friends got pretty into it. I know lots of people played and enjoyed it. I mean, same with Fortnite and Destiny 2 and Apex Legends. Those are all free to play. No Man's Sky has come a long way from the release, but I'm just ignoring that altogether. Final Fantasy XIV. That's going to be my pick. Yeah. And I think is going to win.
Yeah, it seems to just be not stopping anytime soon.
Yeah.
Next up, this is a category we care very deeply about, clearly.
Yeah, no. Best mobile game. And you know what? Mobile has a place in gaming, but it doesn't seem to merge well with your standard, what we know as gaming. I mean, it's a huge market, just not for standard gamers as we know. So we got Apex Legends Mobile, Diablo Immortal, Genshin Impact, Marvel Snap, and Tower of Fantasy.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, Marvel.
Marvel, I'm going to say Genshin Impact, just because I know that community is huge.
Yeah, alright.
I don't know much about it, but I know the Genshin Impact community is massive.
Well, and even one thing that I've heard is a lot of people's opinions of it, whether they be like hardcore gamers or not, is, wow, this is playing on a phone. So, but I eeny, miny, mo to Marvel. That's where I'm at. Yeah. All right, moving on to something that we do actually care quite deeply about. We have again, a category we're a little bit mixed on the actual representation for, because every game is great, sort of. Best Indie of the Year, which we have for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside of the traditional publisher system. So we have Cult of the Lamb, Neon White, Sifu, Stray, and Tunic. And what do you think? This is just pretty noteworthy contenders.
Yeah, I see Stray kind of taking it just because that game was a weird phenomenon.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Tunic win, quite honestly, or Cult of the Lamb, really. But I've seen more stuff on Tunic than what I know of Cult of the Lamb.
I know that Cult of the Lamb has been, it's been incredibly well received. It is something that I'm looking forward to trying one day. It's got a wonderful art style, and like, it's a game for a roguelike genre that has actually broken out a bit more mainstream than I would have guessed, which is surprising.
And it's lambs.
And also the devil, I think. But I can admit, I'm pretty sure Stray's going to walk away with this one. It was like, people had been looking forward to it since that first PS5 trailer where it was just like, there's a game where you can be a cat. And even though it wasn't like incredibly like praised, it was still very loved.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that one's going to be Stray. Next we have Best Ongoing, which is going to be all games that are these the exact same as the community support one?
I think there was something else aside from Genshin Impact.
Final Fantasy 14 is... I guess I'll read off what it is. We have Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and Genshin Impact. And yeah, again, Final Fantasy 14 just because...
Yeah, Final Fantasy 14. It's popular enough, and its community is pretty bomb. It's
I've
pretty
done
good.
a Final Fantasy. I've heard of that. All right, what do we got now?
So next we have Games for Impact, for a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. And I get why this is here, but I don't know any of these games.
Yeah, I'm going to be in the same category as you, where I'm just like, what seems neat?
A Memoir Blue, As Dusk Falls, Citizen Sleeper, Endling Extinction is Forever, Hindsight, and I Was a Teenage Exocolonist. And I don't know any of these, but I'm just going to pick I Was a Teenage Exocolonist because that's the name I kind of like the more. I have no idea about any of these.
I remember seeing Endling, and Endling is kind of like you are like the last surviving family of foxes or something like that. It actually looked kind of cool. It was almost had a vibe like Inside or Limbo, kind of one of those styles of games. And but it also looked incredibly sad because, you know, you're trying to keep your fox children from dying, and they will. And that's Hindsight because it doesn't have animal murder.
You know what? I'm going to pick Endling, not because of animal murder, but there's just something about like heart-hitting experience that I can't get enough of.
My vote for a game goes to Endling because it's a neat concept. It doesn't go to it because I don't want to be sad.
Yeah.
Then we have... Wait a minute. Yeah, no, you're still doing this. That's right.
Okay.
What am I looking
Best
at?
Performance.
Oh.
Awarded to an individual for voiceover, acting, motion, and or performance captures. So we have Horizon Forbidden West, Ashley Birch, A Plague Tale Requiem, Charlotte McBurney, God of War Ragnarok, Christopher Judge, Immortality, Manon Gage, and God of War Ragnarok, Sonny Suljic. I think that's how you say it. If not, I apologize. I'm going to go with Christopher Judge for Kratos. Come on.
He's going to be the only one that I can realistically vote for, considering I haven't played any of the games that these are from. But I do know the Kratos voice, so yeah, he gets my vote as well. Boy. Yeah, for sure. What do we...
So you are up on the next category.
Best audio design, by which they mean recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design. I guess that was pretty self-explanatory. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Gran Turismo 7, and Horizon Forbidden West. And
Horizon.
This is... Horizon. I like Horizon now. It's how I'm going to say it. Horizon Wireless. So again, I haven't played any of these. I'm gonna let you kind of just take the charge on this one, but we are getting into that lump of the Game Awards categories where we're gonna be seeing a lot of the same names.
Yeah.
So
quite personally, just because the only one I've played and can really speak on is Elden Ring. Although thinking back, like there was some hot moments where the music was going, the sound, the combat and stuff did sound crunchy. Aside from that,
what I've seen, it sounded very much like Dark Souls, which not a bad thing, but just sounded the same as Dark Souls.
Yeah. I don't have any songs outstanding in my head from it.
I just
not like that wind
noises.
fight in Dark Souls 1.
Ooh, that's a beautiful track.
It was a beautiful piece.
I think God of War is going to take it because it's a much more tailored and cinematic experience, so I feel like its sound design
it's more of a cinematic experience.
Yeah, so that's my vote out of this category.
Yeah, I think I'm with you.
Did we skip one? Oh no, we didn't. For some reason I read the best performance category and I thought like visual fidelity, not person performing.
Oh.
So we have best score and music, which now we're getting into actual music and tracks. We have Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Metal Hellsinger, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Now, Metal Hellsinger, I think, is cool because, like, this was a big collaboration between a lot of metal artists. I can't name any off the top of my head right now, but, like...
Serge Tankian.
Oh, yeah, he was in this.
Yes, he was.
So I think that's cool, but I also think that people forgot this game exists.
Yeah, I could see that.
I would actually think that Xenoblade's going to take this one.
I'm going to put both my eggs in Metal Hellsinger.
That's a good place to put your eggs.
I have only played this game briefly.
Oh, you played it?
Yeah, I played the demo. The demo was free on Steam.
Okay.
And it is now on my wish list. I had a blast with it. I love rhythm games, and I was a hardcore shooter gamer back in the day. So kind of mixing those two, I have like a sense of nostalgia, and I love my metal music. So as for what's going to win, I'm not really sure, but I want to see Metal Hellsinger win.
I think for metal, I would like that as well, but I also know that Xenoblade's soundtracks are always usually highly praised. So that's my guess as to what's going to be. And then, so yeah, what do we got next?
So next is Best Art Direction for outstanding creative and or technical achievement in artistic and digital animation.
Honestly, actually a hard category.
It is. So we have Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Scorn, and Stray. So, Elden Ring wasn't as pretty as Blue Point's remake of Demon's Souls. It had some spectacular moments, and it is a very pretty game. But just knowing that, the graphics could have been a lot better, but its design artistically was very on point. If that kind of makes sense. God of War, yeah, it's very pretty. Horizon is very pretty. Stray, it was a little bland.
Stray hits you hard at first, but I mean, like, it's not...
Everything becomes very samey.
Yeah. A lot of air vents and air conditioners.
And then Scorn, which I think is going to win. Have you seen Scorn?
To win. Scorn, I've seen a little bit of it, and that whole, like, what is it, H.R. Geiger, I think is who the artist is all, like, art's all based on and whatnot. Like,
yeah.
This is a masterpiece, even it's hard to look at. Like, it's one of those it's hard to look at, but you can't look away kind of things.
Yeah, it is very, very unique in its style, which is why I'm going for it, opposed to God of War or Horizon. We're just going to call it Horizon now. Yeah, I want to see and think Scorn has a chance of winning. If it's not Scorn, it's probably going to be God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah, I could also see that.
So next up, we have Best Narrative.
Oh, look, a bunch of familiar faces.
Yes, we except for one. Well, we saw this one. Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West. That wasn't on purpose that time. And Immortality. To which I think God of War is going to take it. Elden Ring was wonderful. Its story was great and all that kind of stuff. But story, it's
storytelling.
So, yes. And yes. It did tell, like, Elden Ring did have a great story and whatnot. But a lot of its lore and storytelling is in item descriptions and visuals, right?
It's so there for God those who seek it.
Yeah. God of War is this is our story we're telling, and you're playing the bits in between.
I mean, my guess would be if it's not God of War, the surprise would probably be Plague Tale, because I'm pretty sure that's a very narrative-driven experience, but I can't speak enough to that, so I'm just going to say God of War as well. It's probably going to clean up a lot of awards.
Yes, it certainly is.
Then, next we have Best Game Direction. Awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. And we have, oh look, the gang is back. Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West. I did it.
You did.
I did it. Immortality and Stray. And I'm just going to say Elden Ring. When it comes to just like a vision for a game, Elden Ring.
Oh, absolutely. Like what they did with that open world was just immaculate. It was wonderful. Like I've never had so much fun exploring in an open world game. Like open world games, whenever I think about them, I get tired. Like I still need to play the original Horizon, and I've played a little bit of it, but it's just littered with quest markers and all this kind of stuff. Elden Ring, you are left to your own devices. You are there to figure it out, and its world is just so unique and wonderful.
And that's kind of why I think when it comes to game direction, it's probably the standout of these particular ones, because it took a formula that has admittedly been around for a very long time and gotten, like, kind of tired, and
threw it into something new.
Incredibly new and fascinating, yeah.
And you're getting the best of both worlds with it, too, because you still have those, like, tight-knit corridors that Dark Souls gives you, but then you also have this mass overworld, too.
But then, of course, we have the coveted, the exciting, the world premiere. All right, what do we got for this? For the final category here.
The final category: Game of the Year. Recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. We have the whole gang: A Plague Tale: Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War: Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Horizon Forbidden. It just sounds better and worse at the same time. Okay, I think
we aren't making fun of Horizon, by the way. We don't have experience.
Making fun of ourselves.
Yeah.
Did you hear that intro?
Yeah, did you hear the intro?
Oh. Go back and listen to it. Listen to us several times. Give us more plays. But yeah, so I think we can be very realistic that this is a one-on-one battle.
Yeah, it between Elden Ring and God of War.
Yeah.
And
I think Horizon, see, I feel bad for this franchise because this is what happened to it last time. It doesn't mean it's not a great game. It's probably an incredible game, but the last one that came out in the same year as Breath of the Wild, and then this one had to come out in the same year as Elden Ring. And it's just too similar, but more sought-after experience being in Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild do it in its respective time, right? So,
especially in this case where Elden Ring isn't constricted to one console.
Yeah, so it's not that it's the lesser game by any means. It just came out at the wrong time, which is a real shame. Stray, you know what? I think it's incredible that you've made it this far. You're
as an
just
indie
not
as well.
Yeah, but you're just not. This is kind of like the Hades of last year, though.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool that it is actually getting enough praise to be in these nominations.
Oh, absolutely. It's neat to see.
It sucks that A Plague Tale's here so much and I really know nothing about it.
Yeah.
But I just don't see it being... Because again, this is one of the... It was not part of my memory until the Game of the Year awards even came up, so I don't think it's going to be you. And then Xenoblade Chronicles, nice to see you.
It is really neat to see a Xenoblade game up here.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big win for that fandom.
Well, and it's kind of nice to see just a Nintendo in the Game of the Year nominations as well, right?
Yeah.
Because they always make quality experiences, but they're usually kind of sidelined to a lot of the other categories. Very rarely do they get in the Game of the Year slot. Like, for example, last year, I think it was up for Game of the Year, but it was, like, more fit in the category. We had Metroid Dread 1 Action Game of the Year?
I think so, yeah. Action Adventure, maybe?
One of the action titles.
It was only in one of those categories.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, it's between very much Elden Ring and God of War, and I'm just going to say it's probably going to be Elden Ring. I think people have been predicting that was going to be a Game of the Year before it even launched this year, so...
And there's something special. Like, I'm voting Elden Ring as well. I'd like to see it win as well. But there's something to be said that if it does win, it's not fresh on people's mind now, where God of War is. If Elden Ring wins, it came out in what, March? So
something
it has
like that,
spent most of the year out, and still being up here is pretty damn good.
It is actually very impressive that, yeah.
If it held that title, that is spectacular. And good on it if it does win. If not, I mean, here's the thing. Regardless of what ends up as Game of the Year, These are all clearly very, very heavy hitters. And if you get upset that God of War wins instead of Elden Ring, or vice versa, or A Plague Tale, or whatever, that's the best of the best that we got this year. We can't be upset at that.
Okay, but Switch Sports was here.
Yeah, but not in this category.
No, not in this category, but it is at the awards.
Yeah.
Before we close out, our thoughts on these predictions for the awards. What's one game you think you're hoping to see here announced at the Game Awards? A trailer or something you are thinking or hoping you'd see?
A world premiere?
This is another world premiere.
I don't know if it's going to have any more, but I would really like to see an expansion of Silent Hill 2 remake. More so an actual gameplay, but again, it's the Game Awards, or the game advertisements, if you will. And they usually show cinematic stuff. As for one that might not be announced yet, I kind of want to say I want to see a remake of some kind. And this is probably terrible. I am part of the problem because I will buy remakes if they look good. I want to see a remake of Parasite Eve, especially after that big old dick tease they gave us with their NFT game.
Yeah, the hype train came in just to have nothing on board.
And granted, I've been watching a playthrough from one of the YouTubers I watch on Parasite Eve, so I'm kind of living through that at the moment, so it's fresh on my mind.
It's a very unique looking time. It's actually kind of piqued my interest to try maybe one day, but I'm in no immediate rush.
What about
as
yourself?
For something that I'm kind of hoping to see, and I don't think it's gonna be here, to be honest, but so there was a recent kind of point made that I guess Capcom recently secured the domain names for Mega Man 12 to 15. And I know this is something that companies just do and they sit on just to have them. But, I mean, I think he's coming up on a pretty big anniversary. We've got next year, we've got the Battle Network collection. So maybe, just maybe, if there's a Mega Man something announced, I will be overjoyed.
So I saw they got the right, or the URL for Mega Man 12. I didn't realize it was 12 to 15.
Yep.
But, I mean, that's exciting.
Yep.
I like that.
Yeah. But I mean, at least for me, these have been my thoughts, predictions, and feelings and fears about the Game Awards.
So we shall return here momentarily from the future.
Ooh, time travel.
And we're back. So, as we decided, we'd record the first before the Game Awards actually went live, and now we're back to actually talk about the who won what and what kind of announcements we had. So,
yeah, given our predictions, and now this is the I guess you'd call it the post-dictions page.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
It is. It's. I mean, the future's been told for us now.
It is. We're living.
Yeah, we come from a past where some games haven't won prestigious awards yet. It's a terrifying place.
Yes. So let's get into the awards, and because I feel like most of our time is going to be on the actual announcements. Which, I mean, let's honestly face it. This is where people are actually interested, is the announcements, right? The world premieres.
Well, I think it goes safe to say, and I might as well just be transparent with everyone who's listening. So I didn't actually watch the Game Awards.
you caught the highlights, right?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I was very excited for the Game Awards to occur. But as for, actually watching them, and I do intend to actually, give it its time and, see it. But I've mostly just been kind of, the grand recap. Because, as cool as it is to, get together and award all of our favorite games of the year, it just gives me vibes of, I don't know, have you ever sat through the Oscars? Because I've never been able to.
Yeah, no, I can't say I have. But, I mean, you have the highlights.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's the highlights without the fluff, and, I mean, that's pretty much what we're going to be going over today.
But I feel like, did I miss anything like any surprise visits from Dwayne The Rock Johnson pushing Black Adam in theaters this fall?
No. No. I think that's long gone.
Was that the Game Awards or was that Summer Games Fest?
That was Summer Games Fest, I think.
Okay, so basically Game Awards light.
Pretty much. It's still with Jeff Keigles.
Alright, it's old Keigles. So yeah, I feel like, because I can acknowledge that, you know what, let's just dive into the actual awards here.
Yeah, so first award we talked about, and I believe I have this in the same order as we previously did. So best esports game is Valorant.
So, I mean, we made it pretty clear that when it comes to the whole esports scene, we're both kind of in the dark, right?
Yeah, it's neither of our cup of teas, right?
So, did you say Dota 2 or League of Legends?
I think I said Dota 2.
I honestly can't even remember which one was my pick.
It's been like over a week.
It might have been League just because, yeah.
It's been a week since we made the predictions. More than a week, I think.
You'll all know what we said before I do.
Yeah. At least remember. So next up is most anticipated game, and this comes to no surprise. It's The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Which,
I mean, yeah, no one was going to be shocked by this. This game's been... Didn't it win it for this year as well?
For which?
Like 2021 into 2022?
No, last year was Elden Ring, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, interesting. Well, I mean, all the same, we all knew. I mean, I'm especially guilty of this one because, like, again, currently playing through Breath of the Wild in anticipation of this game. So, it seems to be one of my most anticipated, at least given what they were offering.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. Next up is Best Adaptation, which is Arcane League of Legends. And I mean, good for it.
Didn't we both give Sonic the sympathy vote on this one? Like, that was who we wanted to see just because, go Sonic.
I think so.
But from what I've heard of Arcane, I'm not really surprised by this.
No, it was well received. I think I was expecting Cyberpunk Edgerunner because of how much it brought people back to Cyberpunk. But
I thought it would be pretty neck and neck between it and Arcane at the very least, yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad we didn't see like an order of how these actually ranked.
Well, and not only that too, I can see like as good as Sonic was received, I feel like Cyberpunk and Arcane, like not gonna say that Sonic is strictly a kid's movie, it's obviously enjoyed by all ages, but it has more of a demographic to the younger audience, as where Arcane and Cyberpunk seem to be more adultish oriented shows, right?
Teen or mature ratings, right?
Yeah.
Which people love that grittiness to it, the more mature themes.
It seems to get that people to at least take something more seriously as a product as well.
Yep.
Yeah. But so moving on, we would have the best debut indie, which I think we both kind of saw this one coming. And I don't want it to sound like I'm going to be critical on this game because I haven't even tried it yet and I want to, but it really seemed like the groomed to win these categories kind of game this year.
Yes.
So, but I mean, that said, I do think it's really cool that this game about just being a cat that we randomly saw in a PlayStation showcase has garnered the reception it has. So and I am looking forward to trying it.
The game was Stray, by the way.
Yeah.
Because you didn't give the name.
I was doing a build up, but I also didn't realize. Yeah, Stray is our best debut indie of the year.
Yes. So I think you went out of order there.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh no!
You jumped halfway down.
Too. How did that even happen?
I don't know. Whatever.
This is what happens.
It's still there
when you don't actually watch it.
And might as well we did the debut indie, we might as well do the best indie, which was also Stray.
Yeah. Again, this was kind of look how it was going to be looking.
It's a fine game. It's pretty short, which I'm all down for short games, given my limited time. It's nothing groundbreaking though. I mean, the platforming wasn't really a thing because it automatically like leapt you. You jump to a platform and it's going to take you to that platform or that pipe that you're going to jump on, which is good and also kind of takes away from like any kind of skill level. It's more of a walking simulator with some weird actual skill involved in some places, like running away from the imitation head crabs, if you will.
See, I want to say where my, I guess you could say, criticism is nothing to do with the game itself, but how it kind of feels not very indie for being in the indie scene. And I think this kind of just goes to show how, like, the indie scene's kind of a wild west of perception.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, it's... Well, yeah, it was a smaller team, but they were funded through Annapurna, I think was the company.
That's the studio themselves, and they might have been funded by Sony. I'm not 100% on it, but they definitely had quite the budget to work with.
I'm pretty sure it was Annapurna that funded it. I don't think it was Sony. But anyways, moving on. Content Creator of the Year, Ludwig.
Are we really surprised I managed to skip this?
Yeah. I haven't watched his content. I just know the name, and I got nothing to say, really.
He seems to be doing great things for the community. Maybe.
Clearly.
Best multiplayer game.
Yes.
Which, you seemed a little bit surprised by this one, did you not?
I did. I mean, I know Splatoon 3 is pretty popular, but I wasn't expecting it to beat out, like, the Call of Duty. Honestly,
though, as a category in a whole, what a mixed bag.
It was.
So, but, I mean, you know what, given what it was, Splatoon's so beloved, so I'm not really surprised it took the win on that one.
No, it's nice to see Nintendo games getting awards.
Getting more than just the family category?
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Best Sim and Strategy Game goes to Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope. And
this one surprised me.
Yeah?
Just because, and I mean, for what's available, it's the only one I really know of. Yep. I mean, I've heard of most of these other things, but the Mario and Rabbids games, I don't know, they don't seem to like they've really made the impression you'd think they would.
So I've heard nothing but good things about them, to be honest.
Oh, I haven't heard anything bad about them. It's just they just seem to kind of come out and no one really says anything other than, yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm actually really surprised, and it's nice to see this too, because like what a wacky crossover.
It really is, and I mean they seem to be doing good. It's Sparks of Hope is the second one that came out in that series now, and yeah, it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon.
Well, and not only that too, like Mario and Rabbids is already a weird enough mix, and then to basically be like, yeah, but it's XCOM.
Let's give them Mario guns.
It's so very strange.
But it's neat.
It is neat. It's something that the second one does look worth at least like a little bit of a dabble in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think we were too surprised by this next one, nor were we all too enthused about this next one.
No, I mean yeah. It's not our category or our genre to really speak much. Yeah.
No, but I think this is what we both guessed.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Gran Turismo 7, which
won Best Sports and Racing Game.
I think it's kind of funny that sports and racing, because they're two incredibly different gaming experiences, got lumped together.
But I mean, how many sports and how many racing games came out this year that are notable?
Those ones.
I mean, you'd pretty much be having a standoff with your FIFA and Madden. So next up we have Best Family Game, and I'm going to let you announce this one.
This is just something that I'm so glad to see here, which, are we really surprised it's a Nintendo game? No, but it's Kirby. Has Kirby ever been in a Game of the Year conversation before?
I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure, but at the very least, he deserved this one. Kirby of the Forgotten Land is a gem that's one that I also think, too, didn't get, like... It came out, people really liked it, and then, like, no one really talked about it for the rest of the year, which is usually kind of a sign you're not going to see it around here, so... this makes me so happy to see. People should really give Kirby of the Forgotten Land a go. It's just what you know, but in 3D, and it works so well.
It does, and it's not by any means hard, but it's not by any means easy as Kirby has been recently. So
I would say
it's nice.
Like it's not difficult, but it's very engaging.
Yes. I think that's the best way to put it. It is much more engaging than previous ones. It's not just get an ability and hold right.
Well, and Star Allies felt like it did get a lot of DLC, but it still felt very like formulaic, don't get me wrong, this game is painfully formulaic when it comes to being a Kirby game, but just that tweak in dimension works so well to feel different and the same at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I would put Kirby as, at least recently, baby's first platformer, and Kirby in the Forgotten Land does not fit that category.
No.
It's nice.
No. It's, and it has its challenge, right? Like, you know, there's really not all that much required, but for example, like just doing the challenge rooms, like it gives you some tight timelines to hit if you want to hit that highest score.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, that'll save my time for the Kirby for when I actually dive into that series one day. But I'm very pleased with this one.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. It's worth checking out. The demo doesn't do it justice. So if you have a friend that you can borrow it off of, do that. Before you make up your mind, don't just discard Kirby because it's Kirby. It's worth a look.
He's a fan favorite for a reason. We didn't get the meme winner, which I'm a little sad about. But you know what? I think Multiverses deserve to win Best Fighting as I guess to take this category seriously.
Yep,
it would
haven't
have been
played
really
it.
funny if Sifu won.
It would have been.
You have played it?
No, I haven't played it.
I was gonna say.
Me in fighting games, that doesn't work.
Well, Multiverses is, and I know this also isn't really your cup of tea, but Multiverses is more of a Smash clone.
Okay.
And I think it's free to play, as far as I'm aware.
Yep. I think there's Founders packs that you can buy, but just like any free to play nowadays. But
does it tempt me? Not really, because if I want to play Smash Bros, I'll just play Smash Bros. I don't love the formula so much that I'm looking to branch out. But, I mean, you know what? Good for it. Shaggy got his day.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a new fighting game, it might be worth looking into, with it being free to play and whatnot. So,
yeah.
Best RPG game, which is Elden Ring. And we had a bit of a discussion on does this actually count as an RPG. But then I think we decided, yeah, it kind of does because you are playing a role. Putting yourself in a role and customizing your character and whatnot. So in that sense, yes.
I can see that, but then also looking at what it's stacked up beside, which is more like traditional JRPG style games, Elden Ring doesn't really fit, but I mean, come on, we saw it in this category, we knew it was going to take it.
Yep, and at the same time, it's best RPG game, not best JRPG game.
This is true, and it's not like it doesn't deserve all the awards it's gonna get.
I mean, if people can count Zelda as an RPG, which there's still quite a few people who do,
there's a huge debate to be had there. But
yes,
not gonna contribute to that today.
Elden Ring is much more of an RPG than Zelda is.
Significantly so, yes.
Moving on, we got Best Action Adventure Game, and we know this was going to be a toss-up between Elden Ring, God of War, and God of War came out on top. Ragnarok, of course. And yeah, I mean, either one of those were good. I don't remember the other ones in the category at this point, but yeah.
Elden Ring wasn't in that category, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, it was God of War, Plague Tale, Horizon, Stray, and Tunic. And I guess obviously given those options, I would think probably God of War and Horizon, but I'm not surprised by God of War. It just seems to be very beloved in a very short time.
I would say that God of War does better action and more broader appeal to people than Horizon.
Yeah.
So that's not surprising that it won this.
This is now, personally, I think, I don't know if this was my vote just because of, like, fondness, but as for who I think should have won, when it comes to just straight best action game, I'm kind of glad to see Bayonetta got it.
Yeah, Bayonetta 3. And that's given all the drama and politics that went around it before release, like a couple weeks before release with the voice actors and all that kind of stuff.
Well, not only that, too, it's basically Metroid Prime 4-esque development cycle and all that.
Yeah, except this actually came out.
It did come out, yes.
And
another one's coming.
And
we're not there yet.
They actually said during development, hey, yeah, we're still working on it. Where Prime 4, we got no idea.
Nope. But I'm very glad that this got it as opposed to Call of Duty. That just doesn't feel right in this category.
No. Next up is innovation in accessibility. And it is God of War Ragnarok. And now I looked a little bit more into this because I was kind of curious. And the accessibility things that they have for people in this game are pretty intense. Like, they have things that'll do a flat color on the models and terrain and all that. So yeah, it takes away that graphic fidelity. But for those people who require that kind of accessibility to be able to enjoy something, they went a little all out. And it's good.
Well, it's kind of cool to see, like, these big blockbuster experiences want to be as enjoyable to as wide of an audience as they can accept, right?
Yes.
It's not like, and, we could have the whole difficulty argument all day long, but there's, games like the Souls games, they feel a little bit, like, exclusive. Not that they are, but they have that kind of feel to them, right? They have their barriers. And then you see something like God of War where it's just like, we want to do everything in our power to make anyone of any kind of skill level or potential life situation to be able to enjoy our product.
Yes. Accessibility is something I will always be fond of, like just the ability for more people to enjoy a work of art in this case. Like God of War is being really well received.
Whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty swell.
Yeah, if you are at all interested in accessibility and things that you can do for people who don't have that kind of ability or requires that kind of assistance, look up God of War and just see some of the things that is done, because they went all out without compromise, and that's neat. I like that.
I'm gonna have to check that out, because it does seem very interesting, even though it's not something that I'm going to use. I do think it's cool when you can see the kind of tweaks that are available, right?
Yeah, and it gives way for, again, much broader audience. And it's being inclusive of those who may have been fallen out of gaming because they had a life-altering experience, or they might have something, color blindness being one of the big ones in gaming. We've seen color blindness accessibility options in a lot of games recently, like within the past 10 years. So seeing some more stuff that they're actually pushing now is pretty great. But let's move on.
Speaking of inclusivity, or more so lack thereof, not that it's something that's a non-inclusive spectrum, but just because not a lot of people really, this hasn't become a regular conventional method yet, but best VR and AR game, which I think this is kind of a hilarious upset that we can both enjoy.
Yeah, so I think for our guesstimate on this, because neither of us really have, we don't have access to VR at this point in time, but we both went off my friend Toadie's idea or surprise, and that was Moss Book 2. So thank you, Toadie, for letting us be right.
Well, and I don't really know the whole deal of it. I kind of think, like, don't you play like almost like a narrator, kind of like, God character in these games?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Well, all I know is that it appeals to my soft spot inside that likes Redwall, so go Moss.
Perfect.
Yeah, but moving on from that, what do we? This is another kind of hard to peg category.
It's really not, though. Best community support, Final Fantasy XIV. Yeah, I mean, they had their latest expansion that wraps up their current mainline story in the massive multiplayer online game. And everything I've heard about them is just being pleasant. Like they listen to their community, they help with problems and issues and all this kind of stuff pretty quickly. So, I mean, yeah, I'm all for it. I'm good for it.
I'm just glad that it was the franchise I feel like I'm most comfortable with.
And I mean, if Square Enix is giving any kind of support, community support to anything, I'm glad it's their MMO. And it's also kind of funny that they win, because clearly their MMO department is kind of the best thing coming out of Square Enix recently. It's certainly not NFTs.
It is significantly better than NFTs, that is a fact, yeah. But it's definitely one of those situations where like they have been pumping out so much now that it's almost feeling like they're getting a lot more quality over quantity. Not that they don't have quality games coming out.
Yeah.
But either way, I'm glad it was Final Fantasy XIV. On to a category that we don't have really any investment in.
I have more investment in VR than I do with this category, and it is going to be Best Mobile Game.
That said, this game has tempted me.
Yeah?
Just because it's a card game. I like card games. Apparently it's snappy, which I guess would be why they call it Marvel Snap.
Yep.
I like my Marvel superheroes, but I guess given the Diablo Immortal, I'm certainly not going to play that. I can't lease a house I don't own.
This is fair.
Genshin Impact I don't know. I'm just not into it, and Apex Legends, no, not for me. And I don't even know what Tower of Fantasy is.
No.
So good for Marvel Snap for being a right out the gate popular card game.
Good for it. I'm happy for it.
Yeah, good for it. Yeah. And then we did these thanks to my miraculous list jumping.
We got Best Ongoing Game, which is Final Fantasy XIV. Again, they just came out with their recent expansion. I forget how long ago now. Maybe during the summer? I'm pretty sure it was this year anyways. And
I feel like, yeah, it was like late spring, early summer.
Yeah.
And isn't this the last expansion?
It's the last expansion to cover the current story arc. I don't think it's the last expansion ever.
So this isn't like their big final hurrah, and then they're just going to keep supporting it until they get their new MMO?
I don't think so, no.
Well, good.
Games for Impact, As Dusk Falls, I haven't played any of the games that were nominated. I don't really know what As Dusk Falls is. I'm probably going to look into it, just see what it's about. At least a trailer or something, but as for right now, I haven't even seen a trailer.
I think your vote was I was a teenage exocolonist because of the name.
I think so. That's a pretty good name.
Oh, that's right. My vote, even though it was not my vote because it made me sad, was for Endling, which is like, it seemed like an interesting game, but I also don't want to know about dying foxes.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I guess congratulations to the winner of the Games for Impact category.
Yes. Next up, we got Best Performance, and that was Christopher Judge as Kratos. And this was actually really hilarious to watch, because...
Yeah, so again, I didn't watch it, so what went on here?
So, the one announcing the award and the winner was Al Pacino.
Someone told me that Al Pacino was at the Game Awards, and I was just like, why? And they're like, I don't even think he knew why he was there.
No, because he got on stage and he started talking, and you could kind of see him squinting. And like clearly they use teleprompters and all that kind of stuff, and he straight up says, sorry, I can't read the teleprompter. I don't even play games. I don't know why I'm here.
Oh, that's amazing.
But he did go on to say that he does enjoy watching like his grandkids and stuff play video games and whatnot, and he does have that passion of and enjoyment out of his grandkids. So, I mean, there was a bit more heartwarming than just I can't read a teleprompter and I don't play games, so I don't know what I'm doing here. That there's a bit more, but just that whole spiel was just funny to hear. It's like, yeah, I get it.
You know what? As far as like celebrity cameos being random and just almost feeling unnecessary, that one does feel very wholesome compared to
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Keanu Reeves the year before.
I know, but Keanu Reeves was part of like Cyberpunk, right? So
that kind of gives him a bit of the edge. Yeah, he's not just the random celebrity cameo, but he was obviously like playing up his role at the Game Awards that time, right? As where you've just got Al Pacino being like, "They hired me to be here. I'm sorry, everybody."
Yeah. So Christopher Judge, who is the voice of Kratos in God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok, and he had a pretty heartwarming speech. I'm not going to spoil it or anything. He does kind of ramble on a bit, and it's kind of funny because they started putting the wrap up music, like, okay, you gotta wrap it up and go, and he just keeps talking, and he's like, nah, screw that. I'm gonna shout out everyone I want to shout out and thank everyone I want to thank. But it was pretty heartwarming, and yeah, it was a good time.
I guess not only in just the voice acting, but God of War kind of cleaned house in the entire like audio experience this year.
Yes, because God of War Ragnarok won Best Audio Design and Best Scored Music as well.
Yeah, so this is pretty much like the winner of the Ears Award.
Yes,
Ears of the Year.
Ears of the Year. No, I mean, I can see that. I haven't played Ragnarok. I'm going to be in the new year, I'm sure. But based on the 2018 one, the 2018 one was fantastic as it was. I mean, the music was on point. It would pump you up when you needed to be pumped up and all that kind of stuff. And crunchiness sounded crunchy, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I see no problem with this. This is a good choice.
Well, and I haven't played any of the God of War games, but I mean, I've kind of looked upon them from afar, right? And I know that, like, the current era of God of War is, like, a different beast as the previous one, as where now it's, like, almost a more cinematic-driven experience, right?
Kind of, yeah. It's...
Like, not like you're stuck in a bunch of cutscenes, but, like, this is it's almost like a movie now, as opposed to like that just hack and slash kind of like everything looks so good in the game, and like there's a lot of fights that have a lot of narrative weight in the actions as opposed to like beat the fight and continue the narrative.
Yeah, I can get behind that. It's quite honestly, I think you would actually quite enjoy it.
Oh, I have no doubt I would enjoy it. I just need to not play other things.
Yes.
So I like the direction it's going.
Let's go. Let's continue on. You want to give the next one?
Next one we would have Best Art Direction, which I feel like this was one of those ones where if it and God of War are in the same categories, is it gonna win? And this one went to Elden Ring. And is it surprising that it won? First of all, poor Scorn.
Yeah.
But at the same time, again, not surprised. The same like as Elden Ring being in the best RPG category, right? Like it was more of the standout game overall. But from what I've seen from Elden Ring, it is a very pretty game.
So one thing I've seen is like people laughing at the fact that, oh, Elden Ring won art direction. And you know what? I will fully admit that the Demon's Souls remake that Bluepoint made for PS5 looks better than Elden Ring. But art direction does not mean graphic fidelity. Best graphic fidelity.
That's just what I was about to get into, is artistic direction is like, there's a lot more than goes into it than just simply the visuals. Like, does the world make sense visually and artistically? Does everything thematically fit? Does it immerse you into this very high fantasy world? And not that God of War doesn't, but even as someone who hasn't played Elden Ring, that whole thought that you could pan around the camera and see that massive tree in the background.
Yeah.
And these sprawling hills and stuff. And even the, like, I don't know, would you say that, like, some of those, like, smaller dungeons get a little samey from time to time?
Yeah. It kind of suffers from the same effect as Breath of the Wild with the shrines. They all have the same aesthetic.
Yeah.
Although, with that said, there's much more variety in Elden Ring than there was
But it's still
Zelda.
a nice aesthetic.
It is.
Yeah. So I think this is I would say from what I've gleaned, it deserves this.
It was probably a very close call between God of War and Elden Ring. And probably what tipped Elden Ring over was just the fact that you could see everywhere where you wanted to go. You could look off the edge of a cliff and see somewhere far off in the distance, and you know that you could end up there and look right back to where you were standing.
Or that if you look at a beach and you see this giant murderous horde of crabs, and it just makes sense. That's good art direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best narrative.
This one, I think it deserves its spot.
Yep, God of War Ragnarok. And
Yeah.
the one thing I will say is, again, I haven't played Ragnarok. Can't speak to its story or anything. I've been spoiler-free so far, thankfully. Elden Ring, yeah, it has a fair amount of narrative, especially for a Souls game, but the main meat of its story is a lot of the exploration and finding things out through item descriptions and whatnot. It's a very standard trope for a FromSoft game at this point, where God of War Ragnarok kind of has that cinematic effect like you were talking about. Like, there's a lot of narrative, a lot of talking. There are a fair amount of cutscenes and stuff. So, yeah, narratively, yeah, God of War kind of deserves this one. Out of the two, anyways.
That's the thing, where I have no doubt Elden Ring, like all of the other FromSoft Souls-esque experience, has a very deep and rich story, but its story is so simply there for you to discover, as where God of War is like holding your hand and pulling you through this story and being like, this is what we're doing.
Let's go, boy.
Exactly. Well, speaking of being pulled in a direction, the next category would be best game direction. And are we surprised?
Yeah, this not surprised. Yes, this should have won, and I'm glad it won. Is Elden Ring, because now you haven't played Elden Ring, correct?
Not yet.
So with Elden Ring, it still keeps that kind of Dark Souls feel to it. Yeah, and this is another point of contention I've seen among people. It's like, it's just Souls. It's just Souls. Well, no, it's not, because I have never had an open world enthrall me as much as Elden Ring. Like, the sheer fact of exploration in this game is just fun. The openness of areas, the closeted, tight, cryptic areas are pretty spot on, and that's it's in those like tight corridors that you feel more like Dark Souls, and out in the world and how everything's linked together feels very, very refreshing, especially for an open world game. There's none of these quest markers or any of this kind of crap that they shove in the Ubisoft experience, if you will. And it was nice to just be able to get lost in a Souls game, and especially starting off, you have that tenseness of accidentally wandering into a bad place.
Well, I think the big thing with the category itself being best game direction is the fact that Elden Ring isn't really doing anything new. It's putting new spins on old concepts and doing them in such an incredible way, because like we've discussed it before, how like the open world formula kind of feels a little stale, right? And this didn't really bring anything particularly new to the table when it came to open worlds as a whole, but because of how it took the Souls design and just, I don't know how to explain it per se, but when you take something that's boring and make it the most exciting, like people say this should be the new archetype for open worlds now.
Yes.
That's a good direction to take something.
Yes. Especially with something that has gone stale. And it's funny when you think about it, because a big part of its open world is not holding your hand, really. Like, your bonfires, which, and this is Lost Graces or something like that, they'll shine a beam of light off in the direction that you got to go, but when you look on your map, you aren't having any of those icons to tell you where to go. So It is up to you to try and traverse, figure out the lands, instead of just following a quest marker and feeling like you're doing a list of chores. You choose what you want to do. Not because it's on a map, but because you've heard about it, you want to go see something cool, you want to go check it out, you have no idea what to expect.
I think pretty much the whole explanation we've given there is pretty much going to sum up all of our reasons as to why it got the next and final category.
Yes, so the final award, and if you're listening to us, chances are you already know this because, well, we're a little late on this, of course. Game of the Year, which goes to Elden Ring. And you know what?
Surprise.
I'm not shocked by it. It was probably going to be a close call between God of War and Elden Ring. I think God of War gave it a good run for its money. I think it's the only title that was in the leading for that could give it a run for its money. And you know what? I would have been happy with either one of them.
I'm just impressed that, people had been pretty much predicting before it even hit store shelves that, yeah, Elden Ring's going to be a game of the year kind of game. But the fact that it was a fairly early in the year release, it's pretty impressive with how fast the gaming landscape seems to move these days, how quick people's interests seem to shift, that Elden Ring still was game of the year caliber by the end of the year.
Yeah. Like it's
not
hard
something
to
you
hang
see
on.
all the time.
It's hard to hang on to a title like that.
I do want to say, as much as I've kind of been like in this kind of meh reception to Stray, which is really offensive to it in its own way because I should give it a go, but it just, the indie thing. But I am really impressed that it made it in the general game of the year lineup. Like, that's pretty good.
It is. I don't know if I agree with it being up there, though.
Oh, I'm not about to say that either, but I'm going to say,
It's nice to see.
It is. It's kind of like, now, granted, this is a game I do feel deserve. It's kind of like, when we saw Hades up against Game of the Year and Celeste up in the Game of the Year. Like, it's nice to see these smaller titles up against these juggernauts.
Yes.
And really, all I have to say for the other nominees, again, is I'm so sorry, Horizon, that you came out again when you did. You're probably great, but you always get overshadowed every year you come out.
My question is, when do we stop looking at these games like indie and just accepting that all these are games?
That should be a very, very important. I think if we're going to go in that rate, we should just start judging games on budget.
Well, that's pretty much what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're basing it on budget, and I don't think that's quite right. Like, there's a good amount of indie games that I find better than some AAA games and whatnot. Like,
I mean,
we're so far we're so far on par now.
I mean, the innovations that have come with giving people their own creativity, right? I mean, we are now with the generation of kids who grew up with saying, I want to make a game that you can, and then now they're doing it.
Yeah.
So
what do you think? Should we get into some announcements?
The reason we like the Game Awards? Yes.
The real reason people watch the Game Awards? Now that we've probably bored your ears off with the actual awards?
Yes.
But we made you stay to hear the good part.
Let's do the actual recap. So again, I didn't watch per se, but I have skimmed through a lot of like the releases and like checked out a couple of the trailers that have like piqued my interest. It doesn't look like there was like a super like non-stop hard-hitting lineup. It was a lot of big announcements from things we've already know that are coming, but there's a couple just like out of left field things that are very wonderful in these announcements.
There's quite a few things in here that I want to keep an eye on, and there's also quite a few things that I don't have much to actually say because I either don't know the genre well or don't care enough about it, to be honest. And that's not to discredit it. Like the fighting games that were announced, yeah, there's fighting game fans, and I don't. It's not my genre. I don't have much to say about them. But yeah, let's get started. First was Dead Cell's return to Castlevania, and holy shit, Konami is actually letting an indie company do something with one of their IPs.
Not only that, one of their most beloved IPs, and also, like, I don't know, I know we both played Dead Cells.
Yep.
I feel like I've probably spent a little bit more time with it than you have. It's sweet because I was thinking about returning to it anyway because it's already gotten a boatload of DLC that I haven't tried. But like,
yes.
Oh, Castlevania, official Castlevania,
official
this is
Castlevania,
be great.
That trailer just slapped me right upside the head. That got me stoked.
Oh, it just makes me very happy to see these characters. And don't get me wrong, I would like a new Castlevania game, but this will do for now. This will more than do for now.
This will cover the time until you guys actually get a proper Castlevania game out, but Dead Cells is a fantastic game as is. Fantastic roguelike. which granted I've been a little burnt out on, but at the same time, it is one of the better ones out there. And to see like a Castlevania kind of return as DLC, that's just cool. I was a bit flabbergasted. I'm excited. I don't buy DLC, but now I might have to.
I bought their first paid DLC pack, and I didn't dive too much into it, but, like, it was a game that, like, I had sunken up my teeth into enough that I was like, even if I don't really play it, I'm happy to throw the devs the $6 or whatever, just because, like, I think they're great. They deserve it.
They're nonstop support on that game, so, I mean, they more than deserve it.
Oh, even if it's not, like, content, just general upgrade, tweaks, and balances, they have been on top of it with this game, so I'd say... Oh yeah, I'm excited for this. Here's something about this next announcement that I mean, it's about a mobile game. I have a hard time caring about this, but it's a mobile version of Vampire Survivors, which I guess was like in the docket for Indie Game of the Year, was it not?
I think so. Yeah. It was very popular, and it was actually, I don't think it was the top, but it was really high up there in the most played game on Steam for a while.
Okay, but the fact that this announcement was at the Game Awards kind of makes me think they really thought they were getting the Best Indie Award.
Maybe.
It's coming to mobile. If it's something that piques your interest, there's an easier way to play it while you move.
You know what they can say that Stray can't, though?
It's on mobile?
Yep. You can take me anywhere.
How romantic.
So the next one, Valiant Hearts, coming home. I don't know what this is.
Okay, so the first Valiant Hearts came out, 2010-ish?
Oh, wow.
It's a pretty old game, and it's kind of like, it's from that same era of Ubisoft that, what's it called? It's very, very highly praised. I think it's called Child of Light.
Okay.
It's from that time in Ubisoft where they were getting really experimental and almost like indie-ish, right?
Yeah.
I think Valiant Hearts is a strategy game, but I'm not sure. It's one of those, like, because it's Ubisoft, I'm kind of like, and it's also a game about, World War II, maybe?
It looks like that, yeah.
So it doesn't really pique my interest personally, but I do think it's kind of cool that an IP as obscure as this is coming out from one of your bigger studios, so I'm sure.
My biggest issue with it is it started with the Netflix logo. So
it's
like
Netflix has games.
Do they have games?
Netflix has games. I don't know how it works, but this is a thing now.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. So it's like, is this a show? What is this? Because I don't remember seeing any kind of gameplay in the trailer that they showed. They gave some narrative and some, not screenshots, but kind of like just portrait displays, flickering.
Well,
like still frames.
Case, replace everything I just said with just grand skepticism.
I honestly don't know. I don't know what it is.
This is cool though. Though it still I can't play it. But I'm excited is that Returnal's coming to PC, and Returnal is probably like my most anticipated when I get a PS5 to play a game.
Yeah, this is cool. It's more accessibility to the PC master race, if you will. I'm going to call it that just because I was one for the longest time. But I've seen the system specs for it. I don't know off by heart, but I guess it's like recommended 32 gigs of RAM, and that right there is like, well, yeah, that my PC's a little outdated for this now. But I mean, more people getting their hands on this is exciting because it's a solid time.
I think Returnal is one really cool that it kind of really opened the roguelike genre to a wider audience who've never really experienced it before.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a really cool looking game. Like, I really, really want to try Returnal. So, but it's an announcement of an old game coming in a new way. So that's only kind of half exciting.
I'm happy for people that can finally play it because they don't have a PS5, but they have a good enough PC to play it.
I have to watch the trailer for this just because I am curious about it. I don't No, if it's like, I don't even know what genre this is, so I can only really comment about it. But there's a Hellboy game coming.
Yes, Hellboy Web of Weird?
I want to say that's going to be pronounced weird.
I could believe it. It's spelled weird. Yeah.
That weird word.
WYRD.
Hellboy, I think there's been a couple Hellboy games before, and they've never taken, not unlike his movies. So, here's hoping this one's good.
I've seen a lot of people excited for this one. Although, with that said...
I like the art style.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a comic book style.
It's the comic book style.
Yeah. And it is a action roguelike.
Oh, you just replaced my intrigue with skepticism again.
Yeah. But it's better, to be honest.
You know what? I'll still give it a look just because I think it's neat. Just as a thing that exists. It's an IP that you don't really see in the world of video games that often. So, it might be cool.
It's something to keep an eye on. Just see how it does.
I hope this doesn't come out the same time as Breath of the Wild, because if it does, it's just going to keep happening to this poor franchise.
Yeah. Although, okay, so this, not quite the same thing. Horizon Call of the Mountain. I don't have too many major opinions on it, because it is a virtual reality game.
You know what it makes me think of? And I feel bad for saying this. Is it makes me think of, like, just a trailer for a Far Cry game.
I could see that. One of the original Far Cry games.
I just feel like, I mean, it's cool. I think it's cool that they're, like, expanding the world of Horizon and, like, it's a dedicated VR experience. But something about this world in first person just feels like Far Cry now.
Yeah, it kind of does. It like that first person switch kind of throws a whole different feel to their style.
So, they're cool, but also this was one of those things that was announced a while ago. So it's an announcement of, like, it's an update announcement, really.
Yep.
Yeah, but what is this? I don't know what this is. So please tell me what this is.
This one, it is called Post-Trauma. And quite honestly, it looks like almost a Silent Hill style clone.
In a good way?
I don't know. Like, looking at some of the animations, they look a little cheap. So this is going to be something on... I'm not sold on the announcement trailer, but it's definitely something I'm going to kind of keep an eye on. Well...
But does it look spooky?
Yes. Not so much spooky, but it looks effed up.
And if you're going for Silent Hill, that's kind of the vibe
that's kind of their stick. It's not so much scary, it's messed up, and messed up is kind of the name of the game. And just something about me, I like really messed up games. I'm not a horror fan by any means, but Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3 I was absolutely blown away by. Like, I really liked how messed up they were, and I don't know, maybe I'm sick.
Could just be you have specific niches when it comes to horror, right?
So, yeah, Post-Trauma is the name. I'm going to keep an eye on this, just see how it starts turning out. Hopefully it's good, because, well, I mean, now Konami's finally doing stuff with Silent Hill, so it's not like I can say that Konami's not going to do it.
No.
At the same time,
then we've got...
Yeah, Konami has a few titles announced for Silent Hill now. They still may not do Silent Hill.
They're trying so hard to do nothing and everything at the same time. If we want to make games, just you do it.
Yeah. Next up is Viewfinder.
So this looks kind of like The Witness, I guess.
I suppose, yeah.
Just another one of an experience like that.
Kind of, yeah. I suppose in a way it's very go around do puzzles by the looks of it. It's a first person's perspective, and the puzzles are around or all based on perspectives. Like, you could take a scan of an item, print it out in game, of course, and then like hold it up, and then based on how far away, you create like another room based on that item. Now,
ooh, that sounds like Superliminal.
Very much so, just on a larger scale. So it's a pretty neat. Honestly, I can't explain it good. I know this. I would go look at a trailer for it. The name is Viewfinder. It looks pretty damn neat. If you like puzzle games, if you like playing and messing with perspective, yeah, this would probably be up your alley. It's something I'm going to keep an eye on because it's one of those wacky style puzzle games.
I don't like this next one. I don't like that. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah, but you're no fun, so.
I am no fun. Yeah.
This is Among Us hide and seek mode. And
I do like hide and seek.
Quite honestly, this looks like a good silly time, and it's neat that it's here. They announced this a while ago, but I guess it's out either now or coming soon, like really soon. But I mean, me and my friends have played Among Us quite a few times. We usually get a full party up and play, so seeing another way to play it is interesting. Like, based on the trailer, some of the ways that you can hide is like, instead of your nameplate being above your name or anything, you can hide behind a chair that might be perfectly shaped like you. Or it might just be bigger than you, so you won't be seen on the screen, but the monster's actually running around. So instead of just trying to find out who the imposter is, it's, oh crap, there's a monster, run.
Well, and I do kind of like what was it? Wasn't there a Gary's mod that became one of the first like major hide and seek games for multiplayer appeal?
Prop Hunt.
That's what it was. Prop Hunt, right.
Prop Hunt was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, this is obviously different, but I still think that like hide and seek as a video game concept is really cool.
It is.
So, am I going to play it? No. we know I'm not.
You just hate it because of its popularity.
I'm a bitter old man.
Go yell at a cloud.
I would love to yell at a cloud. But admittedly, it is kind of cool that this is still getting the support that it is.
It was, you know what? I'm happy for the devs because they were about to hang up the gloves because the game was out 2 years and then it just got picked up by a streamer and then it exploded.
It is actually a very charming story. Yes. So
it's a win for them. Like, there's only 3 of them there, and if there's a YouTube video explaining the development behind it from that guy Glenn. Not that I plan on doing too many shoutouts, but that guy Glenn, he has an Among Us like development story video, and it's actually really good. It's kind of heartwarming.
I remember watching it as well, and you're right. It is quite nice.
Moving on, we got After Us, and it's coined as an atmospheric adventure platformer. Based on what you see in the trailer, yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
Kind of like Gris.
It's going to be 3D platformer. I don't think Gris is.
No, Gris is 2D.
Yeah. So the trailer doesn't give too much away. So I'm not really, I'd want to see more before it sells me on it, to be honest. The art style is fine. It's nothing spectacular, but it's not horrible by any means. It's going to be a wait and see.
This is one of the things too that's a bit of an issue with like the Game Awards specifically. And these big new game showcases, it's like it's a lot of like art style cinematic trailers, and not often do you get a hefty amount of gameplay to really know what it is, especially with new IPs, right?
So I will say this, there was a lot more gameplay videos or trailers and announcements than I think there ever has been before. It wasn't all straight up cinematic. And that was very shocking to me. Like, After Us, I think most of it, if not all of it, was gameplay trailer.
Just still not sure what that gameplay was.
Aside from platforming, I don't, like, it had some enemies and stuff, clearly, but I didn't know if you were attacking or if you could only run away, that kind of thing, right? So I'm not too sure, like, no idea what the story is, no idea what you do aside from just platforming. I feel like it needs something else to jump out at me, to be unique enough to sell me on it. So
certainly it's worth looking into at the very least, because like I said, I don't know what it is.
It's keep an eye on it and see what else it has to offer, right?
This one though, I still haven't checked out, but you were giving this one a lot of praise for like at least being intriguing.
Yeah, this looks really, really cool. It's a side-scrolling action game based in the 80s. And it's weird because it's kind of 3D side-scrolling, but all the art is 2D, like almost pixel arty. It's so we've heard voxels and that kind of terminology, but this is like a 3D pixel art style. It is really weird, and it just looks really neat. The combat looks fun, I'll say, although we don't see a whole lot in it. But the visuals to it and whatnot, it seems very, very well done and very intriguing. So I want to see more on this, but yeah, I'm keeping my good eye on it.
I'm going to have to check out the trailer for it when we're done with this, because, yeah, I just know that you were saying, like, out of most of what was shown, this was one of the things that stood out to you the most.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you seen enough to be excited about this next one yet?
I've seen a fair amount of it. Yeah, you go ahead.
I mean, it's Street Fighter 6. We kind of figured it was going to get a little bit more of a showing here, right? It's kind of one of the big known blockbusters of next year. Not obviously on the level of the new Zelda, but it's a new high reputation fighting game coming out, right? It's Capcom. It is a big deal of a release. This one just looks really great because it actually finally focuses on like some single player content. So
yeah,
it looks like a different beast of a Street Fighter game, but also just a very refined fighting game all around.
So if they didn't keep releasing Street Fighter 2 with different names and saying, it's still Street Fighter 2, this should be technically Street Fighter like 17. But yeah, this was a pre-order trailer that they dropped. It showed off a couple new characters, DJ, and I honestly forget the rest, but I've already mentioned my bias, or anti-bias, if you will, against fighting games. This semi has my attention. Like, I'm very intrigued. If I'm going to pick it up ever, I don't know. But it's tickling something inside me.
That's fair. That is fair. I think this looks like probably the most interesting, like, someone who's not into fighting games could probably have a good time with this one.
Yeah, like I said, it's sparking something in me, and I'm going to keep an eye on it, considering I don't like fighting games.
I think this next one, though, is why we won the Game Awards.
Yes, this was honestly like the highlight for myself, to be honest. Elden Ring was great, getting Game of the Year. The other announcements have been good so far. Like they've actually been really good, to be honest. But this one announcement, holy shit, Hades 2.
Well, it's funny because I was thinking about, because I remember you telling me like that there was something that I was going to really blow my mind, and I know we made like a few predictions of what we were hoping to see, and this was nowhere near that radar.
No,
and I was thinking like, maybe because like there was the whole talk of the domain names and stuff, like maybe they dropped a new trailer for like maybe a Mega Man 12 or something like that. And, no, not a sequel to one of the greatest games I played in recent memory. My goodness.
No, and I mean, Supergiant has never done a sequel for any of their games. All their games have been really good, and as far as I know, they've sold fairly well for an indie developer, but they've never done a sequel. And this is like, Hades 1 was probably why the roguelites have been ruined for me, because Hades did it so good, and it just got me super hooked when I was playing it. I could not, it took me quite a while to actually put down Hades to move on to something else. So, Hades 2 is straight up there with games like Hollow Knight, Silksong that I'm waiting on.
This is no doubt going to be my most, and the fact, they showed gameplay, and it looks reasonably similar to Hades 1, but like, that's not going to bother me at all. This is a huge surprise. Speaking of, and this wasn't at the Game Awards, but I remember you mentioned to me, wasn't it Game Kitchen? They made an announcement saying they wanted to be here, but they didn't really have something they felt was ready to show people, but were confirming that Blasphemous 2 is very much coming out next year as well.
Yeah, so they said, we weren't at Game Awards. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but just as a reminder, Blasphemous 2 is going to be in 2023.
It was a Game Awards adjacent announcement, and I feel like there's been quite a few things, like, now that the Game Awards have taken place, we're getting a lot of these other things on the sides of going like, oh, in case you were wondering, right? But just because this is obviously one anticipated sequel, I just wanted to mention that as well. People, be hyped for Blasphemous. Play Blasphemous.
Yes. And be excited for Blasphemous 2, because I know I am. And Silksong. And now Hades 2. And these are all indie games, and it just shows, like, how great indie games can be.
Just want another little second to just gush about how excited I am about there being a Hades 2.
Yes.
But moving on, this is something I knew nothing about until before we started speaking tonight, but kind of has my interest. Judas, which is from the maker of BioShock.
Yes,
and
Ken
from
Levine.
The small trailer that I saw, looks very BioShock.
It looks very BioShock. And I mean, I'm going to hold off on it. Wait for more information. Like, did he just leave his current studio, start up a new studio and remake BioShock with different names? Or is it a genuine, like, I'm going to have to wait for new information on it, not just a trailer. And that'll probably start coming out closer to this release date.
I'd say the same. I think my thoughts on it is, like, I love the BioShock games, but it's also, I've heard a lot of murmurs that, like, there's a new one in development. But also, when you think about it, like, I don't want to get into spoilers, but if you know the series well, how much further do you really go with the concept at hand? But this is one I think is something to keep an eye on. This next one looks like it should have been a 3DS game, and I think that's funny.
Yeah, so these next couple we're probably just going to plow through because I don't think either of us have much to say on it, but we still want to mention it for the sake.
We talked about Hades too. There's really nothing else. It's just downhill from here.
Pretty much. not quite, but pretty much in our eyes, because Hades 2. Bayonetta Origins, Ceres and the Lost Demon. Or Cereza? I don't know Bayonetta, sorry.
She's a witch.
It's like an origin story to the series. I don't really have any opinion on the series itself, but I mean, I hope it's good for the Bayonetters out there.
You know what the gameplay looks like?
What?
Kind of looks like a Skylanders game.
So I've never actually seen Skylanders, so I can't say too much on that, but I can kind of get what you're seeing. Yes.
It's like Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Warrior need food.
So yeah, I hope it's good when it comes out. I hope it's something that Bayonetta fans can enjoy. The next, now, again, neither of us have VR, but if I did, I feel like I'd want to do this with friends because it looks like a good party game, silly good time. But it's Ghostbusters: Rise of the Ghost Lords, and it's you're hunting ghosts. It's Ghostbusters. It looks like a really fun and neat idea, and if they pull it off, then yeah, I could see it being pretty good. But
I could see that being an interesting time, but again, VR is not one of those things that's easy for me to get excited about, just because, again, don't have access to one, right?
Yeah.
It's
something that, as much as I could explain, you're best to go watch the trailer on, to get some of the ideas on what's actually going on. Destiny 2 Lightfall expansion. I don't have a whole lot of
This was still a thing?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. That's pretty much where I stand. If you play Destiny 2, yeah, you got a new expansion coming out, I guess, and yeah, good for you guys.
I am happy for those who are happy about it. The Suicide Squad game. It's made by the people who did the Arkham games, isn't it?
I'm not too sure, to be honest.
I think it is. If it is, it's something to be potentially excited for. I remember the original trailer that came out, and it was just cinematic. I didn't watch this trailer.
This is just cinematic
disappointing.
Too. And that's...
Well...
Yeah.
That's the Kegels for you.
I'm not a Marvel or DC guy by any means. I hope it's good. If it is by the Arkham guys, I mean, that's something to be excited about, because those were well received. And one thing that I should be like, it was more of a Batman reveal trailer for the game, and it's voiced by the late Kevin Conroy. So if there's anything I could say about that, I hope it's a great game so his legacy can end on a high.
That would be very nice.
That would be.
How about this next re-release of Skyrim?
So The Last of Us Part 1 comes to the PC. And I do get it. I assume this is the PS5 remake, not the original PS3 version or the PS4 remaster.
That would make sense.
That's just a small tangent about how it seems like it's a waste of resources. They didn't need to remake it for PS5. Like, it's a small upgrade, yeah, but no, as far as I know, they went ground up. I could be wrong on that.
And I have nothing bad to say about Last of Us, but it's definitely one of those games that, like, as someone who's not a fan, it has that very much, like, we know every time I see more about Last of Us Part 1 specifically.
Yeah. Although, coming to PC, it's going to be its first release on PC. So
which is always exciting.
That I could be excited about for people who want to check it out and don't have a PlayStation. So
this I didn't play. You played, but I think this is cool that there's another one coming.
Yes, so this might be the only one that's an EA game that I will drop money on, to be honest. Because you can't spell greasy without EA, right? And so this is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And quite honestly, it looks good. It's a weird mix, like it's almost like a Dark Souls light type of series. And very similar to the first one, so I'm assuming this is going to follow suit. So I assume this is going to be a lot of fun, and that's coming from someone who's not really a Star Wars fan per se.
I just like seeing these well-tailored single-player Star Wars games coming out, because they used to be a pretty big deal, and then the Star Wars game franchise just got a little bit muddy for a while.
Well, they realized they can't do Battlefront without getting shat on, right? So
this is true.
And it's nice to see EA doing something good. That's single player, especially. So next up is Earthblade. And the trailer didn't show us much on what the actual gameplay is going to be like. It gave us some how narrative is done and that kind of thing. One thing I do want to mention about this, aside from the pixel art being nice, really nice to look at, is it's made by the creators of Celeste, which is a very well-received title. And I mean, I absolutely adore Celeste. And I'm hoping this does good as well.
I'm not going to lie, this was one of the first trailers that I watched, and granted, it was after a long day of work, so I was quite tired when I did watch it, and I wasn't really all that invested, but it didn't really grab me. But then after finding out that it was Celeste Dev, I do have more interest in it, so I'm going to keep an eye on it and give the trailer a rewatch.
It's definitely something I want to see another trailer on that gives me a bit more like of the gameplay loop, opposed to the I mean, a lot of this trailer is just walking around and stuff. It did show a little bit of combat, so it is in there. I just want to see more of what we're getting into.
Nice to see some pixel art at the Game Awards, though. I'll give it that.
Yes, and it did look very pretty.
Yeah. Next one we have a Dune MMO, which I don't really know much about Dune, and I'm not really one for MMOs, but from my little bit of knowledge, it seems like a universe that works for it.
Yeah, I don't have much to say on this. It's Dune Awakening, MMO. This trailer didn't give much, but aside from letting us know it's an open world survival MMO.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the gameplay is like and all that, I have no idea. I see MMO and I'm so... I think about like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14. It's your standard buttons. Oh, big red circle, stay out of the bad. On the floor type thing, and I want to see more from an MMO. And you know what, maybe because I've really stopped looking at them, maybe I won't see that kind of stuff.
That's just it. You've done your shopping for MMOs, right? You're full on that plate.
Yeah.
Forspoken showed up, had a demo, which I think this game needed a demo because I think a lot of people are very confused as to what it is. But It's again, we're touching on things we already knew about, so at least it was bringing something to the table, but more Forspoken news.
Yeah, I mean...
It looks good.
Cool. Yeah,
but
I'm probably going to check out the demo. I would highly suggest anyone that has any kind of interest to check out the demo. That is one thing that I will give Square Enix, because I will happily give them a hard time about a lot of their business decisions and anti-consumerism, but... They do put out their demos, and that benefits us from realizing if we want to actually continue giving them money or not on certain titles. It makes it easier to vote with your wallet. without FOMO of some sort.
They're good about actually taking player feedback to heart and actually working on things.
Yeah.
I know stuff like triangle strategy and whatnot, and the new Bravely Default game. I know that they ended up, and even I think Harvestella took a lot of tweaks from its community demos. So I
think so too.
I applaud this. Yes, we have
Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy. I don't know about Octopath Traveler 2. Bravely Default, that's not Square, is it?
Yep.
It is?
Yep.
I think that took a lot of consumer feedback as well.
Yeah, because it was very boring.
Yeah.
We have a new entry in the Strand genre.
It's a new Nintendo DS. So they have hung up the 2DS and they have brought out the DS2.
It's the DS for you.
I'm sorry, that's a really bad joke because it makes no damn sense, but neither does Nintendo's naming conventions. So yeah, the next Strand type game, Death Stranding 2 from Hideo Kojima.
Working title.
It's a working title.
So that's what I'm saying.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Sure.
It's Silent Hills.
Sure. Moving on. What's this?
I got no idea. The trailer gives me nothing. I think it's from EA as well. It's some kind of like futuristic fantasy with magic. It's a magic shooter.
Avium?
Yeah, Immortals of Avium. And the trailer really doesn't give much to go off of.
Well,
it's a lot of close-ups of things that don't quite make sense and explosions.
Tack it.
It's like a made by Michael Bay.
Oh no.
Tekken 8.
Yeah.
Story and gameplay teaser. And again, I've stated my opinions on fighting games before. I can't make judgment of this, so I hope it's what people are looking for in a Tekken game.
It's a legacy franchise, right? It's Bandai's Street Fighter and all that. I've seen more on Street Fighter 6 than I have on Tekken 8, and I don't really know the Tekken franchise all that well, so yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page as you.
Yeah. So I hope it makes people happy. Nightingale Realmwalker's Journey?
What?
I believe is the proper title. And this one seems quite bizarre. It's like the trailer's just floating around with an umbrella until just near the end, and then it goes to like wielding an axe in first-person mode. It's fighting like some kind of demon monster. So this is going to be another one that I'm going to say wait for future trailers.
It's like the Mary Poppins MMO.
Yeah, except just not an MMO. I believe it's just single player.
I feel like this next one should be a big deal.
Baldur's Gate 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for those who may not know, this is actually made by Larian Studios. I believe I got that name right. And they did the Divinity Original Sin series, 1 and 2. And those games, I can personally vouch for Divinity Original Sin 2. It is a lot of fun. And again, that's coming from someone who's not a turn-based fan or a tactics-based fan. And I enjoyed my time with Divinity Original Sin, so I can only assume that they're putting their love and the amount of depth that were in those previous games into Baldur's Gate 3, and they've really been listening to community feedback. It's been on early access on Steam, so it's the trailer's actually pretty good. It gets me kind of excited for it, even though I'm not terribly invested in it, so I may be picking this up one day, maybe on a sale. But the ending of the trailer, I want to talk about how they just show a mimic, and they're talking about this guy that you don't want to mess with, and then he just is inside the mimic and opens the mimic up and then rips it in half.
Ooh.
From the inside, and it's just like, oh, that's kind of badass. I like that.
I think that because I know Baldur's Gate is like, it's been a long time since Baldur's Gate 2, I'm pretty sure. And it's kind of like the de facto. There have been many Dungeons and Dragons games, but this is kind of like the most standout franchise among them, I'm pretty sure.
It was huge back in the day, like thinking about 96, 98 kind of era with Icewind Dale, the original 2 Baldur's Gates, Neverwinter Nights, that kind of stuff.
That's what
It was like the point and click RPGs for back in the day.
Well, and this kind of feels
they are
like
really well known.
like almost like a StarCraft 2 announcement. Like, this has been a long time coming, and to the point that, like, should be a big deal, but I haven't seen many people talking about it, really. I haven't really looked either, so.
I'm going to say that this is probably one of the biggest downfalls of early access on Steam. It has been out for, like, the past 2 years.
Oh.
Right? Just slowly getting upgraded from a very rough point up until where it is now.
Gotcha.
To where I guess it's coming out for release. So, it's not so much new. A lot of the people who already know about it, or like it's nothing really new. It's just it's coming out finally.
Yeah.
Right. So I understand why there's not a whole lot of talk about it, but everything I've seen about it, people seem to be really pleased with it. Knowing it's from Larian Studios, that's quite exciting as well.
What is this next one?
On.
Is this just Overwatch but different?
Kind of. I'm honestly not sure. This is going to be another one, and I'm repeating myself, and I do apologize for this, but I can only go off of what they've shown. And so this is called Wayfinder, and it's a character-based online action RPG published by the Warframe developer. And I enjoyed my time with Warframe, but I need to see more on this before I can really make an opinion, because I don't know if this is going to turn out just being very grindy, or is it going to be more skill-based? And is it PvE or PvP? If it's PvE, this might be interesting. It has a bit of cartoony look to it, and potential possibly. It's not something I'm going to rush to, but it's something I'll keep a side eye on.
Fair, very fair. Not my cup of tea. I just know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those ones that you need friends to enjoy with.
Yeah.
As a solo endeavor, which you do more so is. Well, lots of people play games solo. I'm not calling you lonely.
Well, I mean, I do prefer my solo player experiences.
Yeah.
Moving up next.
This next one.
This is weird.
Is Fire Emblem Engage, and this is concerning and kind of infuriating because
DLC
I hate it when they come out. Yeah.
Oh.
That's just it. They're announcing DLC and a season pass before the game is actually on shelves. Like I don't know if it's January or February that it comes out, but why announce DLC before the game's even hit the shelves?
I don't like that.
Come on, Nintendo. It's one step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really have much interest in this game either anyway, which is a shame because like it did look like it's a more traditional Fire Emblem compared to the last one, but still.
And people love the Fire Emblem series, and yep. I'm not going to discredit that, but this I don't like that look. I don't like the idea, like how much of it was actually originally planned for the game, and they cut it so they can have DLC.
Yeah.
Right.
This next one.
This next one. Ooh.
I haven't watched this trailer, but I kind of want to because like. This has been looking good so far.
So they did a whole presentation for this. They did like a whole like musical score for this and whatnot. Yeah. It was really, really cool. It was done by Halsey, who personally I only really know. I don't know too much of her music, but I know she worked with Trent Reznor for like her last album or something, and I'm a big Trent Reznor fan.
Yeah.
But that whole performance, it was just really like eerie, almost uncomfortable, like in a good way. Like it was doing the job that I wanted to do. It was really good. And then you get into the trailer and whatnot. The trailer gets you hyped, and now that we actually have a release date, that's exciting. I really hope they knock this out of the park and not have another Diablo 3. Like Diablo 3 was fine. I've played a lot of it. I do hope it's a more darker, grittier Diablo experience.
Oh, from what I've seen, it seems to be taking itself much more seriously than the last one.
Yeah, and that's exciting. I'm stoked. I've been a Diablo fan since the first one, back as a kid.
That's the only one I have a lot of experience with, and I know a lot about the second one, have a lot of friends that played it. The third one looked a little too cartoony and World of Warcrafty for my liking. And so it's also... I've been pretty estranged from strict PC gameplay as well, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm stoked for Diablo 4. That's exciting.
Nah, yeah, DLC.
Yep, DLC for Horizon Forbidden West, The Burning Shores. Cool. I can't say too much. I haven't played either of the Horizons yet. I have the first one on my shelf. It's just, I mentioned it in previous episodes. Open worlds make me tired.
Yep. very much.
I mean, Elden Ring came out, and that kind of solidified my quota for the year.
We got another new MMO coming up.
Kind of new. I believe this was out in the eastern part of the world already, and I think it's just now coming out to the west. Kind of like Lost Ark, I believe.
Well, that's That's an
I don't have much to say. It's
Bandai. They make good games sometimes.
Yeah. I don't have much to say on it.
No, I really don't either. What is Remnant? Why do I know what that is?
So Remnant, the original was quite a while ago, I want to say.
Is it a boomer shooter?
I'd have to rewatch the trailer. This is where my notes. This is where I got kind of tired of writing notes, to be honest.
I'm no help with my lack of notes.
I know I looked into this trailer, and it actually sparked my entertainment quite a bit. It looks really weird, very like that devilish, corrupted kind of style. As for gameplay, I want to say it was a first-person shooter, but yeah, it was just very, very gritty and stuff. Actually, I think it's over the shoulder, like third person over the shoulder.
Interesting.
But
I do like those Gears of War style kind of shooters.
Yeah, it looked very, very neat. I don't know if I'd go back and play the first one, but I'm definitely going to be possibly getting the second one.
I never saw a trailer for this, but there's a new Transformers game coming?
Yes. I had a hard time trying to figure out what the trailer was for at the start when it started. Maybe it's just because I don't know Transformers too much, but I mean, seems neat. It not really much gameplay. There's some sections in the trailer that shows what may possibly be gameplay, or at least what it looks like in game, not just a cinematic trailer.
I know the Transformers games have been pretty all over the place. There hasn't really been a fantastic one, but they usually fall under that half-baked kind of licensed game, and they've always been kind of like, are they going to go with the more cartoony side of Transformers? Are they going to be very strict to the Michael Bay films? But they've all kind of had that licensed here for the paycheck kind of workload, right?
Yeah, so, this looks a bit better than anything like that, but it's, again, there's not enough view in the trailer to actually make that. I want to see some proper gameplay. I want to see more before I made up my mind. Because, again, cinematic, it's mostly all cinematic trailer in this one, and it doesn't give me much to go on.
What's this next one?
Yeah, so the Super Mario Brothers movie. It was a small clip from when Mario just gets to the Mushroom Kingdom. And this movie seems like it's going to be charming.
I'm excited. I'm excited for it. I was hoping for it to be just hot trash, but it's actually looking good. So either way, I want to go see it in theaters. This is going to be an exciting moment.
Yes,
and I think as much as I'm not a big fan of television and whatnot showing up in my Game Awards. It's Mario. It's the Mario movie. Of course, it's going to be.
It makes sense to be here.
Yeah,
and it's not just a solo direct.
Yeah,
but now we have 3 good portions of this movie to actually see things, and this has a bit more Chris Pratt in it as Mario, and you do get a bit of an accent.
Gonna have to check out this trailer.
Well, here's the thing: if the biggest complaint that people have is Chris Pratt's voice, that's not a bad thing. Because there's so many different things that could have gone wrong with this movie. And so far it's looking really good.
Well, and I think too that because this has been in development for a long time now. I want to
Yes.
say a lot of it is response to how the Sonic movie was being received, and like it went well, but what worked for it and refine that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it, very much so. And I mean they purchased a movie studio, so they're probably going to be more Nintendo properties to come out to the big screen in the future.
Which if this turns out to be good, then yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, but,
I'm all for more IPs expanding media types. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I think we're starting to get towards the tail end of these announcements.
Yeah, so next one is
this?
Banisher's Ghost of New Eden. And this looks like it gives me very Witcher 3 vibes, to be honest, in gameplay style. It's mostly cinematic, though. It gives you, like, the trailer's 2 minutes long, and, like, the last 5 seconds is gameplay.
Oh, that's disappointing.
So, don't get... I guess it's a bit more than that. Maybe 20, actually.
But it's a very
it's a very minimal amount.
Trailer.
Yeah. But I mean, this is one I'm willing to keep an eye on, because it could turn out very good.
Next
could also turn out like hot garbage.
This is very true. Space Marine 2?
Yep.
Another Warhammer 40k game, which, I mean, they come out with so many games that span so many genres. I think the last one was like a 2D... might have been a roguelike or something, and it had like a paper cutout style, and they've also had like third-person shooters, which is funny because this is all based on tabletop strategy, right? What the heck was this?
So this looks like it's going to be another over-the-shoulder style shooter.
Yeah.
Just in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. It's hard to say how this is going to go. This is one that I'm going to say, if you are interested, give it some time, wait for it to release, and see what standard reception is. Because every time I see one of these trailers that sparks my interest, I end up waiting, see the reviews, and it just turns out that it's hot trash. And then I get upset. So, but yeah, it seems like an over-the-shoulder shooter. It looks kind of fun. Or it does look fun, I should say. Swarming enemies by the looks of it, versus solo you versus the world.
I feel bad for those kind of games that they feel like getting new audience members is hard. I feel like again, for someone like yourself and I, who's never really been too invested in the Warhammer franchise, compared to what we're going to be playing throughout the rest of the year, this is probably going to not just show up on our radar just because we're not familiar with it, which is unfortunate. Yeah. But there's just so many games to play.
There's a lot of announcements. Like, this is going to be a long episode, so apologize for that. So next up is Meet Your Maker. Don't know much. It's a good portion of it is cinematic trailer again. It looks like a boomer shooter.
The description is a building/raiding game, which immediately makes me think Fortnite, which immediately makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But when you say it looks like a boomer shooter, that makes me more excited because I'm an old man.
So that description versus the trailer, I don't know. I don't know
what this is. What is this?
Yeah. They showed me a 2-minute trailer and I still don't understand.
I know what this next thing is, but I also don't know what it is, and it confuses me.
Oh, yes. So this is going to be Crash Team Rumble.
When I initially saw this, I got super excited that it was going to be a remake or like a reimagining of Crash Bash.
So Crash Bash was like the party game, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what this is like, I think.
But it's like team-based competition.
Races, competition. It's like, I get a big like obstacle course kind of in the Crash universe type feeling to it. So, I mean, it kind of looks like Crash Bash obstacle course mixed with Splatoon in some sense.
See, when I watched shooting the trailer, around, it gave me vibes of something like almost kind of like a little bit of Fall Guys mixed with like League of Legends.
I could see that, yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, you know what? Crash Bandicoot's not dead.
No, Crash is still going.
Good for him.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Next up is Lords of Fallen, which is a, if I'm not mistaken, very Souls-like type of game.
I thought it was a Lord of the Rings game.
I don't think so, no.
Oh.
No, it's a very Souls-like game. I think that this is... I don't know if it's a sequel or not.
I'm gonna have to look into this because the imagery is intriguing me.
Yeah, it looks very pretty. I will say that it looks very, very pretty. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. I'm going to be waiting on reviews before I dive into it. Like if it's not reviewing well, then I'm not gonna worry about it.
What?
The Souls-like genre just isn't usually done very well outside of From Software. Lots of people have tried to do it and they just can't.
And not only that too, it's one of those things where like it's fun when it works, but when it just kind of tried to like, I want something more original than someone else's spin on what works.
Yeah.
Yeah. What am I looking at right now?
Crime Boss?
I see
Rocky City?
I see what looks like Danny Trejo.
Yep.
Is this just Grand Theft Auto celebrities?
So, it gives me a very, like, original Saints Row kind of look to it. Quite honestly. Like, Chuck Norris is the police officer, or the sheriff.
So, hammed up Grand Theft Auto, but not as hammed up as Saints Row became.
I don't, yeah. I don't know. It might be worth looking into. If you like GTA or Saints Row, it's certainly worth like keeping your eye on.
I feel like games like this, so they get a lot of celebrity representation, forget about money for making the game.
Yeah, or their priorities are in the wrong place.
Speaking of celebrities, here's another one.
Yes. Idris Elba? Is that how you say it?
He's Knuckles the Hedgehog.
So, Cyberpunk DLC Phantom Liberty Time starring Knuckles the Hedgehog. This is just the paid DLC that coming to Cyberpunk 2077. That's been talked about for quite a while. So, nothing really new. If you like Cyberpunk 2077, especially nowadays, now that it's been mostly fixed, yeah, look into it.
I was gonna say
I got nothing else.
For as much as DLC. Cyberpunk got dunked on, it's nice to see that like it's still trying its best to provide a good experience to its players.
Oh, they've made quite the comeback, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about that. I think this next one is, I know for us the announcement of the night was clearly Hades 2, but this one seems like it's so weird. It's the biggest deal, but it's from a franchise that, this is the 6th game in the series. And
of one that I don't think either of us have really experienced before.
I feel like most people haven't. I know it's a very, very niche franchise.
It is.
But it's FromSoft. So now, because the Souls games have become so popular, especially with Elden Ring being Game of the Year, all eyes are on them. And
well, don't forget that Sekiro won Game of the Year when it came out as well.
True, but Sekiro was a new IP. I guess Elden Ring is as well.
Yeah. So this is Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon. And so I've seen a lot of concern that, it's just going to be like a Dark Souls mech kind of version. And FromSoft has come out and put out press releases saying that no, they're going to stick to the traditional Armored Core feel of the games.
This is just a gritty mech franchise.
Yeah, and from my understanding, it is actually quite difficult, but in its own way, which is neat.
It's not difficult combat. It's difficult
management in a sense.
Yeah, it almost has like a lot of like war sim vibes. Like for example, a game where like let's say you're a tank driver and you have to worry about like the damage that your treads have taken, or like if your cannon's been damaged, your ammunition's going to be a little. It's just that kind of technical level of a mech game.
Yeah. And I believe this was a cinematic only trailer. But
probably.
Besides that, I mean, FromSoft has earned a lot of brownie points in my basket. I'll say that. So I don't know if this will be a day one buy, but it's definitely something I'm probably going to be picking up close to.
I think this next one might be a day one buy if it keeps looking as good as it has been.
Yes, this looks absolutely fantastic. So this is the final world premiere, and you wanna give the name?
Yeah, this is just another look at the upcoming Final Fantasy 16, which this was the release date trailer.
Yes.
22nd of June of next year, which I was pretty certain it was going to be a summer release for 2023. And
sure enough.
This, I'm kind of a Final Fantasy diehard in the sense that like I like the traditional ones like 9 and beyond or prior, but this looks really good.
It does. They've kind of returned back to that like castle style fantasy instead of like the modern age.
It looks
of
violent.
15.
It
does.
It's like a Game of Thrones story, which I've not watched or know anything about, but it takes a lot of emphasis on like, warring kingdoms, right? And it's been a while since I've looked at like a Final Fantasy game and cared about things before I even knew what they were.
So one thing I've noticed with Final Fantasy is everything seems a little dialed back and childish and has a bit of like that anime chibi kind of feel to it. This looks gritty and dark and mature.
I think that they really wanted to appeal to the more Western audience with this one.
So we just like violence. Got it.
Well,
I'm okay with that.
Not even so much the violence. Its fantasy elements seem very, I don't want to say light, but understandable.
Yeah.
Like, it's gone back to, like you said, very straightforward, just medieval kingdoms and magic and monsters.
I just like how gritty it looks.
It does look very gritty. And I also really like that it's a strong emphasis on, like, the espers and summons and whatnot, which are some of the more exciting aspects of most Final Fantasy games.
Yep.
But
now, one thing I'm really hoping for is when you are in game and the characters start talking, is it going to sound like, this is going to hurt because I don't really want to discredit anyone's voice acting, but is it going to feel like cheap voice acting or solid voice acting?
Well, you said Final Fantasy 15, it was pretty good, wasn't it?
In some areas, yeah. Not a lot.
I mean, you know what?
Like thinking back, it was very happy-go-lucky. The standard Final Fantasy trope of right, like the over-exaggerated expressions and stuff. And
as long as the voice acting's better than the Trials of Mana remake, I think you'll be in for an all right time.
Yeah, like the Trials of Mana remake is an example of that kind of like cheap feel I'm talking about, where if it's like as an example on par with like Witcher 3, where they took the time and did a really good job with it. Like Witcher 3's 2015 it was released and they did that good voice acting work. It's 2022, this is coming out in 2023. Give us some high quality voice acting.
Yeah.
And some meaningful, and you know what the sad thing is the Japanese dub is probably like on point with what they want, and then they just threw English for the sake of having it in there.
I want to say that this being the next big numbered entry in the Final Fantasy franchise, and especially with the strides they've been making with Final Fantasy 7 Remake and stuff like that game had some pretty fantastic voice acting.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about it in that regard.
Oh, it's not going to be a deal breaker, but I do hope that they get the voice acting on par with the grittiness and like drastic feel that they want. Like I should be able to feel that heartbreaking moment, not just have like a small like gasps from someone when someone dies. You know what I mean?
You want the weight of the story conveyed. You don't want like a big drastic scenario and then sosomeone goes, "Oh no, he died."
Yeah.
Well,
that's exactly it.
I think we've gotten to the end of the Kegels.
Yeah, this lot of good world premieres. The awards were pretty okay. That's not why we watch them.
If you had to pick two games from what's announced, what are the two you're most anticipated or intrigued by?
Oh God. If I had to pick two there's
It's tough, isn't it? I feel like we share the same one, at least one of the choices, so I can just get that out of the way.
Hades 2.
Hades. Yeah.
You like Hades 2?
I see what you did there. Very nice.
God, the other one. I'm having a tough time between two of them. Because I'm choosing as if the other one will not be made anymore.
So for me personally, out of what they've shown, I think the thing that has my interest the most piqued is probably Judas.
Yeah?
I really liked BioShock. The trailer, like I said, looked very BioShock, so I'm excited to see the direction it takes. Will I be so crazy about it when it comes out? I don't know, but I've got my eye on it.
So I think for my second pick is going to be Diablo 4.
That's a good pick. I don't blame you for that being your pick.
The one I was having a hard time deciding between was Final Fantasy 16. But then, realistically thinking about it, I could probably get a lot more replay value out of Diablo 4.
They're very much a game designed to
replay over and over and over.
Take over your life. The loop.
Yeah. So I think if I had to choose out of just keeping two of these, yeah, Hades 2 and Diablo 4.
Yeah, that's. I'd say, you know what, for what we've typically had a Game of the Year awards, this was not mind-blowing with its announcements. There was a lot of, like, we're talking about things we already knew about. But again, announcements like Hades, the Baldur's Gate being completed and stuff like that. There were some good heavy hitter announcements.
Some very out of left field heavy hitters, and you know what? That's if we get one good heavy hitter, that's a good show. Quite honestly,
this is true. But I think once all the prizes and hands were shaken and all that, we could really just come to the end of this and say someone got arrested. Yes.
So a couple things that happened during the Game Awards that noteworthy. We already talked about Christopher Judge and his speech, pretty good, and Al Pacino being confused. The guy who just kind of snuck up on stage and kind of soiled FromSoft's Game of the Year speech. Not really soiled it because they got their speech out of the way, and then he just kind of goes on. He's standing behind the team the entire time during the acceptance speech, and kind of walks up as they finish up and talks about Bill Clinton. And it was one of the most bizarre things. That's probably all I want to say on that fact, because I don't want to give him too much attention. That's clearly what he was going for, right? The one thing I will give attention, though, is they did an orchestral with all the award winners. And it was like one giant mashup. So they had I guess not just the winners, but the nominees. Some Horizon music, God of War music, Elden Ring music, all kind of like mishmashed together, and it was really good. Go look up a video and look at the flute guy. He is having such a blast.
I've seen something about the flute guy apparently being like the unsung hero of the Game Awards.
Oh God, this guy was just... Honestly, I don't know if he was high or on something, but he was having the time of his life. He was just happy to be there. And it is the best, most wholesome thing ever.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up the flute guy, but
yeah. So when we get off this call, go look up the flute guy.
I'm gonna do that, and then I'm also gonna look up the trailer for Replacements. Was that it?
It's called Replaced.
Yeah. But yeah,
the Diablo 4 performance, because that was pretty sweet.
that is also something I should look into. But
we should probably wrap this up because this episode is now our longest ever.
Well, and we wanna get working on something more exciting, which this is a fine, exciting production, but it's got nothing on the first annual optional Boss of the Year awards, or whatever we call it. That's your Mindy's right there.
Yeah, I hate the Mindy's, but you created it. We're calling this the Bossy Awards.
Oh no!
Deal with it.
Yeah, I guess. For those who have stuck around this long, thank you for listening to our endeavor of a recap of the Game Awards.
Jeez, yeah.
Any closing things you want to plug? Socials, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we're on Twitter and Instagram. We don't post the most enthralling stuff, I'll fully admit, but we're on there. You can find us at Optional Boss PC on both those platforms. We are somewhere on TikTok if you really want to do a deep dive, whatever. I don't really care about TikTok, to be honest, so aside from that, just enjoy yourself, play some fun games, stay good, stay healthy, and have fun.
Yeah, I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season if they hear this at the time, and we will be with you with the new year to kick it off with a bang.
Yes, so stay tuned next time. January 1st will be episode 8, the first annual Bossy Awards.
Ooh, the excitement, the anticipation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for listening, for sticking with us. Feel free to leave us a review, all that kind of good stuff. I'm going to stop talking. We've talked enough. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good one.